LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB Podcast.
Welcome back. This is LaTB MMA Podcast, and I'm Emmanuel, the host, who is healthy as well as Cheney, living life at the fullest, letting us know what we're going to get into today.
Living our life like we're healthy. Living our life like we're healthy. This will be somewhere where there'll be this video, and at the bottom it'll say R.I.P. Just kidding. I ain't putting no corona curse on us. People saying the Wuhan flu is racist. And doctors are getting mad because they say calling it corona is too vague because there's so much coronaviruses out there. So the COVID-19, that is what we would call it. COVID-19. The whole time we're talking, I am like, where is my spray? I have it. But whatever, laugh now. We'll see who laughs last.
More of a breakout than a breakdown.
Yeah, that's how we started.
So, we are going to go over...
Oh, yeah, you could say it if you want to. We're so out of sorts.
Oh, definitely. We are here running a high fever, if you know what I'm talking about.
Don't even say it. All of a sudden, hazmat suits. Dum, 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 dum.
So, UFC 248. If we can get to it, we will get to that pay-per-view. Then we're going to do some Twitterverse. Then we go into the breakdown after all of that. So, 248 pay-per-view. The stands were full for that. There was a crowd of people in Vegas. Officially, the MGM's on lockdown now. So, that's something we got to worry about. But that didn't matter for the fighters. As of today.
Did you hear that at a TSA, 3 TSA agents are tested positive?
Multiple. Yeah, I have. They don't work with people, right?
I just want to say something right now. If you're listening, or if you're not yet, or you might be a person listening for the first time this time because you found us through our new podcast and are addicted when we do our conspiracy podcast. If not now, when? If not now, when? And will it be LaTB conspiracy? Will it be don't drink the water? Will it be the Fightgeist? Who knows? Who knows?
Wow. Waiting, excited for that.
I am excited for it to drop. If not, when?
It is. I mean, there are things are changing, but the
borders are locking down.
There is definitely. This is a unique time, and it's going to change our politics
the NCAA
for sure.
basketball tournaments, no audience is allowed. Is this going to be happening to our UFC fight?
There's already reporters talking about that at the press conferences with Dana White talking about, are you worried about COVID-19? And he's like, nah, we're not worried about it. No.
Virus cannot exist in the Brazilian auditoriums. He's like, you know how hot it is in there? Crazy.
Absolutely. It's Corona. Get it right. So,
have we heard of, we don't even have to talk about it anymore. Recap UFC 248. Sorry, we got off topic.
Dana Bagriel comes in defeating Guido Canetti in a TKO. Round number 1, 3 minutes. I was on the Canetti side. I thought it was going to go to decision. Batgrill going over to Jackson Wink, really getting his striking together, but the 40-year-old 135er in Canetti also looks like he's probably on his way out of here, but Batgrill put on a good showing.
I really thought I changed to Batgrill beforehand. I am so sorry. I did not re-listen to the show, so I don't remember if I said Canetti, but you told me it did. If I did, I am so sorry, but it's perfect because I told you also I get every first fight wrong. That's how I roll.
So
that's all I have to add.
Before, actually, what we should have talked about a bit was the Whitmire ended up missing weight, shit in the bed, not making it by a whole 2.5 pounds.
And she wasn't the only one who missed weight.
Really? I thought she was the only one.
No, the biggest person who didn't make weight.
Who was that?
Oh, that was last week.
Yeah, I'm like, I was
still hurting for Joey Benavidez.
That fever's got her, so.
Oh, shit. I jinxed myself. When they were like, well, it's funny that we found a connection in the COVID-19 that antiseptic spray is actually the contributor cause of it. And I'll be like,
So with the fight with Whitmire, she didn't make weight. The day of the fight, she fell out against whoever she was fighting there, Vieira, whoever it was. Right, we did get a shortened card. It did start at 7 p.m. East Coast time, which was brutal.
I took a nap. It was too long. I was like, no, this extra half hour, I guess I'll nap for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was brutal. But then we go on to 145 pounds where we had Giga Chikadze coming in over Jamal Emmers in short notice. Both of these fighters stepping in short notice. I thought Chikadze won the first 2 rounds with that reversal after the takedown in the second round from Emmers. But as we were saying on the breakdown, Emmers likes to stay standing with better strikers all the time and uses his wrestling to his last resort. Chikadze actually showed some good ground game. I wanted Emmers to win. People are saying it's a robbery. I don't think so. Even though I had Emmers, Chikadze got that reversal after that takedown and kind of nullified that round out with more strikes landed. So, dirty fight. I'm still tentative moving forward with either guy.
I thought Chikadze looked really good. I don't think anyone should count him out. I think he's going to be a good underdog going forward, even off this win. Jamal Emmers, I liked everything I saw. I think it goes with the rule. Don't count out the real UFC guy. Right. Don't count out the guy who's been there for a while, even though he might have looked like trash against some other UFC guys. But welcome to the UFC. Like, if this is our worst, it ain't going to get easier than Chikadze.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, so I'm super tentative, as I'm saying, on those guys. Then we move up to 185 pounds, where we had Gerald Mearshart, boyfriend of Cheney, over here.
I tried to tell you. I was confident in this, too. I felt confident.
I was heavy on the decision, thought Wynn was going to end up smothering him with that top game, but the gas tank ended up faltering for the 5'6" fighter who has been known to have gas tank issues that we talked about before. And Mearshart knows how to drag you into deep waters. Definitely looking. He hurt him. Would he hurt him with a left hand?
It was a close fight for a little while. I thought the corner of DC, the announcing of DC, was actually going to help him out for a while. I was getting pissed. But I thought Darren's hands were okay, and I don't want to say he's not UFC caliber, but Gerald Mearshart is so sneaky. Mm-hmm. He's a sneaky MF, and there's not a lot of guys I'd put him against, but then if you can give a guy that's a mid-grade submission specialist like Mearshart that much height advantage, you're in trouble. That's what I think, the number one thing that I think it's about.
It's the height advantage in general. Listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with Volkanovski a little bit before we got on here.
Yeah, Joe Rogan is short as bull.
But no, Volkanovski is also, he's like, I'm 5'6" on a good day. So I'm like 5'5". Darren Wynn is 5'5", 5'6". And Volkanovski's like, those guys are so fucking big. Like, I can't do it. So he cut down, because he could easily weigh that amount, could Volk. So Wynn needs to just get changed. He needs lifestyle habit change.
And his body looked better than his previous fights. That being said, he still had weight to lose. It is worth the lifestyle change from him. I like his skill set. He's just becoming more and more well-rounded. He's fighting these monsters. But, dude, come on. What would be the harm of going down to 170? Let's try it out. Let's hashtag try it out.
Even then, he's small at 170.
I agree he should go down, but let's see that first.
Right.
Let's see how the speed because we also don't need him to go to 155.
Is it a cannoneer?
And he's the slowest guy in the division.
It's a cannoneer.
That's what I think it could be. I think Darren Wynn could be a cannoneer.
Where all of a sudden it's like, we don't understand how we ever saw him fight at 85. And it's like, yeah, that's what happens when you completely change your diet.
That's what, because I got a little steam about Felicia Spencer that I said she could be a great 135er and she may be an okay 125er. But some people's bodies just, maybe they don't have to do it. But could they slay in a whole nother division with just a different kind of discipline? Yeah.
Could they though? Could they?
Yeah, the speed might not.
Everything changes. Yeah. Everything changes. So, but Cannonier's doing well. But
be super tentative on Gerald Mearshart going forward. Sneaky. I think he'll lose too, and then you'll get another weird victory off of him. Right.
He'll always be like win one, lose one, maybe lose two, win two.
To me, Darren Wynn, get down, move down in weight, or get on.
Oh.
He don't have to retire. He's just not UFC caliber.
he definitely would be a contender for the Bellator belt, but UFC is just a different beast. Staying in 185 pounds, we had Rodolfo Vieira, one of the biggest favorites of the night, coming in over Sepperbeg Safarov, submission round number 1. And this had to be a submission round number 1, because if they would have went in between rounds, it would have been called due to eye injury. Safarov getting a front kick in that first round, hurting Vieira, taking a shot. Safarov looking every bit of 45 in there. I still do not agree. He is not 32 years old, and he looked worse.
I thought it was Corey Feldman.
Absolutely disgusting, but he made it a fight for a little bit. Once it got to the ground, it was all Vieira. Ended up getting that submission. Was it an arm triangle choke in there? But that eye, ooh, and it wasn't the worst injury of the night. That wasn't the worst swollen eye, and that would easily be the worst injury of the night on many other cards. It was crazy.
It was pretty gnarly. I was nervous about it. There would be no way that round they would have let it go into 2. So
no way.
Desperate stoppage. Glad it happened because I had that bitch all day.
Me too.
It made me I was like, oh shit, he about to lose this fight.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah,
it was definitely scary in there. So Safarov, probably not UFC caliber, and Vieira, he's gonna have to heal a little bit from that, and anybody in the division. Then we move over to 155 pounds, where we had Mark O. Madsen come in and defeating Austin Hubbard in 3-round decision. Interestingly enough, you were informing me that Madsen broke his jaw in the middle of this fight.
Yeah, somewhere in the first or second round, and then in 2 spots.
Wow, Austin Hubbard getting it done in there. I had Madsen decision. You went with Hubbard, I believe, which wasn't a bad call.
No. I ended up switching last minute to Madsen decision as well.
Oh, so that worked out. But Hubbard had a good showing in there.
I thought so too.
So I can't take much away from it. I think the hype for Madsen, the fact that he's that expensive for anything, just doesn't make any sense. Especially after we saw him against actual UFC competition in Hubbard. So it's definitely more tentative on Madsen coming out of this matchup, but we're going to really have to wait and see what even comes out of this jaw situation with him. I know you're going through diagnostic stuff right now.
It's okay, I'm listening.
What did you take away overall moving both of these guys forward? I totally agree
with you. I really liked Hubbard. I liked everything he put out. Madsen is a next level guy when it comes to grappling and wrestling in particular. So I think to look as good as he did against a specialist like that, I like everything I saw from both guys. I hope that Madsen heals up, and I am glad I changed my pick. I listened to your advice because he's just world class, and there's a difference when a guy gets a world class level. The only guy that is going to compete with him there is going to be another world class guy. One
of the pieces of information that I didn't find out till afterwards is Madsen went over to the UFC PI and broke all of their records. The only thing I'm hesitant on is the PI is still pretty new, so the records are still pretty fresh.
Who did he go up against for it? Ngannou?
Yeah, exactly. Ford Escort. Joe Rogan's leg kicks. Yeah. That's who he was going up against. So,
Forrest Griffin.
But there was people hyping up just that he was supposed to be a stud amongst high-level studs.
He showed me some good stuff.
Definitely a good
He manhandled a guy that I think is still respectable, so I like both guys going forward.
Agreed. Then we move on to 135 pounds, where we have longtime returning Sugar Sean O'Malley defeating Jose Alberto Quinones, TKO round number 1. I had submission 2. I was going to switch it to 1 just because when I went back and listened to myself as well, it's true they've held this fight off after all of that drug stuff for a while because they're like, we can beat Quinones. And doesn't have a bad record. And it'll just look better overall. Quinones has fights to win. I don't know. I feel like I don't like this win so much. I've been waiting to fade. Evil Twin is a big Quinones lover and absolutely always tries to change my mind. And I'm like, he's a brawler, but he gets hit way too hard on the regional scene. And against bigger hitters, it's the UFC. He can do that in Mexico on Combat America and have a great fight of the night, but these guys will put you out.
Is the word bias a Spanish word?
It's Latin.
It's Latin of some sort.
So, I mean, it was a blowout for O'Malley, who was a humongous favorite here. Moving forward, I'm not bought on the hype. Quinones, I think, is a low-level UFC fighter to the amount of respect and hype that O'Malley's getting, where they're calling him a contender now.
I gotta kind of agree with you a little bit. I don't like him already calling out. I think Cejudo, he was talking shit to.
He squeaked out against Asian sensation, so Hamzat.
Yeah, and dude, you took so much time off. You did. I think you got busted for 2 separate illegal substances.
Correct.
I don't count the weed at all, but I think 2 separate things other than the weed.
Yeah,
right?
the steroids, it was a Diana, so I can't think of, but it was an actual substance. His claim, as much as everybody else's, tainted supplement that he did not check with was verified with USADA at the time, so it was all illegal, but they've really relaxed up on those laws. Since even him, a lot of guys are getting 6 months now.
Yeah, well, whatever. I kind of am with you a little more than I'm ready to hype train Suga. I like his personality, but there's something almost too invested in his personality where I feel like it's gonna catch him eventually. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of I kind of feel like it's not that I'm not on it. Like if you asked me if Sugar Sean was a vacation and you were like, hey, do you want to go on a cruise in September? I'd be like, it's not like you're asking me to go on one in April. September, it makes me want to be like, let's just see how this thing plays out.
Who would you give him next? Not Cejudo, obviously.
135. Interesting little weight class. I didn't mean to say little, no offense. Interesting weight class. 135 men. Who?
There's a ton. No, those are 25ers.
Yeah, tell me who you got.
Off the top, Sandhagen.
No way.
Way too high of a profile.
And they're not. Sandhagen's big, isn't he? Bigger than that?
I don't think so.
I thought he was a 145er.
Oh, it could be a 145er. Who else is at 35? Barsola, but he's going to be coming up on the fight card this weekend. Enrique Barsola. All these other guys at 35. There's guys moving out of the division as well. But yeah, you're right. It's a lacking division, but 45's got monsters in it all of a sudden.
No, I almost want to look it up. What about, I don't know, Sugar versus...
Anybody, because he's a hype job.
What about Sugar versus whoever's healthy out of the Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Qatar?
That's too big of a step up. Off of Quinones?
He's asking for...
Cejudo.
Yeah, I'm like...
That's,
I don't know.
I think they'll grow him up. They'll grow him slower.
Yeah, it's not even worth it yet.
That's a slow grow. Then we move on to the main card where we had the Fight Pick Championships come through, where all the marbles were on the line. It was a bloodbath
Who won this week? Fight Pick Championships. It is the Fight Pick Championships.
Backlog coming in as the high scorer with 80 points. Congratulations, Backlog. Also running an on-point server, the Backlog, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's one of the better Discords that I've been on. So, as always, you guys can check out our page to find out where to follow them. But if you probably type in the Backlog on Discord, you'll find him.
And Twitter as well. He definitely has the Backlog.
I don't know what his preferred pronoun is. You will find the Backlog.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And in the main event, the bloodbath we had between Oliveira versus Max Griffin was a 3-round decision.
Who came in second?
It was that one, you guys. It wasn't me. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, that's why we're moving on
me.
so fast.
Hell yeah.
That's why we're moving on so fast.
Oh, we could keep talking about Fight Big Championships. It gonna come up.
Okay, so for the second place on the fight pick for the fresh belt, I don't know. If these are the fight results, I have to go to fight picks because they should be on here. Okay, Backlog's 50. World Winning Federation 40, tied to Dar Smokes. Congratulations, Dar Smokes.
Good job, Dar Smokes.
I got third place by 5 points, still losing to 5 extra points on the amount I'm already losing to the big meanie. I got 35 points in third. Grampy back got fourth place with 30. You got fifth place with 20. I thought this was the wrong scores.
I did it as well. I thought there was another miscalculation. He's gonna have to go back and look at that.
You got 5th place with 20. The Juice got 6th place with 15. Ricky Jiu-Jitsu. He forgot to turn in again this week. I think all of MMA Marks, I think they both forgot to put in their score this week. So, we said all their names. Make sure you're following those guys. Everybody's super fun that we listed in the Juices podcast. You guys is Fighting With Myself. Ricky and Buddies is MMA Marks. Grampy back has Ray's Omoplata Super. That Star Smokes. Me, you. And if you're into men rolling around in their underwear, you can go to Pornhub or World Winning Federation.
Definitely big pink suits if you want to see that kind of content. Get into it. This fight, though, was brutal for the main card. Starting off the pay-per-view, the cuts all over Griffin's face in this fight. Technically, it was really close. I thought it could have went either way. I was on Griffin's side, but Oliveira just able to land the more devastating shots. I thought the strike output was pretty even. The fact that really not too much of a ground game was involved. It was just kind of a striking battle. Oliveira is just going to be a tough fight for anyone, as is Max Griffin. Tough loss in there. When I saw the pay amount, I think he only got like 30 grand, did Max Griffin, or $26,000 for the amount of damage
taxes.
he took. Yeah, and paying his camp. Maybe it was 36, but either way, paying his camp 10%, buying all his food, like, oh.
I think he fights more than once a year. I hope he heals fast. It was one of his best showings in there. It wasn't a bad showing for either guy. I think everyone knows 100% of the time, if you call yourself cowboy and step inside a UFC octagon, there will be blood. And Max Griffin, way to go, kid. Like, I'm impressed. He had a lot of haters. No one thought Max Griffin was going to...
Other than me. I thought Max Griffin was going to get it done.
I did too. But there was a lot of people that were just like, he's nowhere ready for this. And what a brutal fight.
It was a close fight. It was much closer than the lines had indicated, that one. Did you happen to see Cowboy switching feathers with Cowboy in the stands?
No. Oh, I love that, though. They love you. They get it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're the Brazilian Cowboy, American Cowboy.
They fought before.
Have they?
Oh, yes. Cowboy versus Cowboy.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
I don't know if it was one of the first fights I watched or just when I really started to know who everyone was in the UFC where it started to click.
So, definitely fun reminiscing about those legends as we move forward. Then we go on to 170 pounds where Neil Magny, being the big underdog, plus 200 in there, coming in over Li Jingliang, who is in exile from his country. They won't let him back in there because of the corona.
Good for him. He should stay out.
I agree. He's like, oh, I'm going to live in America.
He won the freaking UFC lottery.
You know how much toilet paper we got in America? You know how much toilet paper we got out here?
I know. What the funny part is where everyone's like, oh my God, what are we going to do without toilet paper? Everyone, we're going to install bidets. Like, it's time.
I agree. And I've always wanted the 3 shells from Judge Dredd.
They're like, Judge Dredd, no? It's Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. You're right, good call.
No, but I saw it with Judge Dredd. I knew where you were going.
Same suit. It was essentially the same movie.
Same dude.
So, yeah, exactly.
The only thing that was different is when you said 3 shells, I saw Sandra Bullock, and that's it. I was just like, she wasn't in Judge Dredd. She was in, it's the wrong movie.
Boom. Yeah. So, here Neil Magny took a big old shit all over my DraftKings, so I needed a bunch of toilet paper. He didn't get finished in round number 1 as I had him up. Li Jingliang as a linchpin, so I went hard in the paint. Ended up crapping on a good amount of my cards.
222-16. So it wasn't even close to my first UFC fights, but it was because it was here. It was
16, yeah.
16.
4 years ago now. Woo!
Yeah, but it wasn't because it wasn't close to my first UFC, but it was by that time that I'm like, oh, look, I know both these guys.
Right.
It takes a long time to know all the actors and actresses.
And so many come in and out.
Yeah.
So
fighters. Actors and actresses. Weird.
Definitely. So
there's conspiracy theories out there like, I knew it!
So Neil Magny coming out of that Team Elevation camp with TJ Dillashaw and all those monsters and whatnot.
He looked
really
great.
Looking absolutely awful. Also a 2-year layoff. Same as
He looked
O'Malley.
Fabu. He actually looked different. He looked really good in there. His body, his face, his movement, everything.
He was just like, after his couple losses, he was going back and being like, after the fight, being like, yeah, I understood what happened and how those guys submitted me. I had 2 years off. Guess what I did? I went and rolled every day. I went and got in tournaments and got really good. Good for you, Neil Magny. You have getting on the scoreboard for most wins in the UFC. I believe beating like a Matt Hughes type of a fighter with like 16, 15 wins now. Does he have?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good for you, Neil Magny.
Definitely Neil Magny getting it down
Leech.
in there.
I feel like neither guy changes anywhere. They're
Yeah,
both still.
I agree.
It's the Leech still and Neil Magny still, and it was no hate on Neil Magny because I thought he'd lose this. He's still world class. Like he's a UFC. He is UFC veteran. Like you can't take anything away from Neil Magny. So, and I feel the same way about Yingli Yang. So, whatever about rankings, who cares who they fight next?
Then we had at 155 pounds, Beneil Dariush coming in over Drakkar Klose by a home run finish. This was a one-sided first round where Beneil Dariush pretty much was a backpack to Drakkar Klose, locking in that figure four and just staying on him for essentially the round. And then round number 2, they just started swinging. I needed some more of that toilet paper because I almost shit myself. Benny took some shots and his chin isn't the best. Drakkar Klose, who everybody's like, hey, guess what? He doesn't have power. He hurt Benny. And
everybody can hurt Benny.
that's exactly it. But a guy with that much, anyone else with power, I'm just still super hesitant in. And I really hate.
I see what you're saying. Yes, you're right. You're right.
I hate that Benny was
Anyone else would have knocked that bitch out, is what you're saying. I thought you were saying, we're saying he doesn't have power and he almost knocked him out. Like,
that's not good. That's not good at all. A guy who doesn't hurt people just almost got you out of there. What I also didn't like in the post-fight interviews was Benny's like, when guys hit me and rock me, it riles me up. If you're a good striker, you're like, let me rock this dude a little bit, and he's going to charge forward, and then I hit him with a knee up the middle, just like freaking Edson Barbosa. So, world-class guy. I love Dariush. He's a guy who makes me money, but at the same time, that chin is such a big factor against a puncher. So, I'm still super tentative on him. Drakkar Klose, he still has many fights to fight in the UFC at 155 pounds. First time he's ever been finished, I believe.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, knocked out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Finished. He's lost.
Okay, I believe you.
But it was definitely hell of a way to get into the co-main event because it was, a firefight. It was a firefight in that beginning of that second round. And then it didn't
last long, but it was fast.
Then we went into a fight of the year candidate, easily a Hall of Fame fight.
I would say right now, it's the fight of the year so far.
Absolutely.
Easy to say.
Absolutely. It's going to take tough. We'll see how it gets later on.
Everything else you watch this year, compare it to this fight.
This is a fight to compare it to. Is it better than Weili Zhang coming in against Joanna Jędrzejczyk? Zhang Weili.
Because apparently I heard it on another podcast. Because Chinese always fuck up their names.
They say it backwards.
I know. I think maybe it was MMA Marks, but it could have been.
Either way, Zhang in here got it done in 5 rounds where we saw one of the most swollen heads we've ever seen in the sport. The only other thing I could think of was Hominick with that fight that they stopped against Aldo because of that contusion. But JJ in what was it round? Well, either way, round by round. First, round number 1, Weili Zhang got that round for me. It was close. She got right in Joanna's face and was rocking Joanna. And what I didn't like is even though there was great adjustments by both fighters, Joanna still kept coming in and getting hit by that right hand as we began to see. And that second, I believe, was it the 3rd round where...
I feel like easily, I 100% agree with you here. Zhang Weili had that first round. That was her round. Joanna was downloading still. She was feeling her distance out still. And she kept finding...
She was getting hit with that right.
She was getting hit. And for people that need a fight metric score, this is where the round and the fight metric, there's no argument here. Round 1, so far, Zhang is winning the fight.
Right.
Okay, we go into round 2.
And that's where I feel like Zhang starts to wake up a bit. Not even wake up a bit. They were both landing tons of strikes. We called for the stack in this, right? We said, stack this one, not the next one.
Yes, we were like, this is definitely a lap B stack. Definitely a lap B stack.
And boy, did it pay off.
It totally paid off. I would say it was probably on your winning card if you had also...
Oh, cashing out?
With Aljamain Sterling. With Aljamain Sterling and Dariush, who we also said... can you imagine if we were like, stack a card with, this is going to be an all-veterans night and the champions keep their belt with the stack of Joanna. Boom. That would have been the card.
Absolutely. It was definitely easy to pay off.
I was nervous, though. I will be why we're going through this, because I said all China, no China. The second the Leech lost his belt, I was like, oh.
So then the second round, I thought Zhang was still rocking Joanna a bit more in there. I believe that's when we started to see the swelling, maybe towards the end of that second round. And was it here where Joanna actually landed a strike after the bell?
After the bell. But after the second
in a combo
round, I totally agree. After the second round, I still felt like Weili had this round.
Correct.
First and second round for Weili.
No, I had the first Joanna.
Or first Weili. Zhang. Oh, you had yours Joanna.
Joanna in the first round.
I thought Joanna could
I'm looking at my verdict to see where I'm at.
You led me to believe a different way. Oh, I need to pull up my verdict, but I just remember it.
Wait. Nope, you're right. I'm looking at it backwards. I had Weili Zhang winning that first round.
Okay. And then the second round, I thought it was closer. Joanna was finding her timing a little more. I still felt like probably, I would say the fight metric still had Weili. And it was definitely a closer round, and I also felt like the power shots were Weili. But Joanna landed some nasty kicks in this round. This is when she started to find her kick game, I think. A little bit, but Zhang just essentially was throwing 1-2s and landing that right nonstop, not really changing up too much stuff, but just having a hell of a pace and good accuracy. She started to get a couple welts on her face as well. I feel like in this round 2 was where Zhang started to wear it a little bit around the eye. That was just her eyes.
There was swelling. Then in round
I don't know. I think you can look at them after the fight, and I think Yang looks pretty good still.
She definitely was getting hit with that kill you by 1,000 cuts as it was as my plus money Cuesta. I was thinking that the volume of JJ was going to eventually get away from her, and I even gave that round number 3, so 2 and 3 I gave to JJ with that volume slightly edging it out, but Zhang had times where she would rock JJ and make up those 3 to 4 strikes essentially, and then that swelling, regardless, judges are judges, and they're like, I don't know what's happening, but she's losing this fight, and it's like, nah, she's getting swollen, but I feel like there's...
She's getting swollen because it's just, there's a lot of people in here cheering.
She's getting a big head about herself.
I think there's a lot of people right now. I think we all love JJ, and I do think it was a close fight. I think it was so close. It's one of those, I fucking hate the saying, you gotta beat the champ to be the champ. But it's kind of like, why do they want to give a belt with that close of a... It isn't definitive. We both agreed going into the 5th, it was 2-2, regardless of the 4th.
Fourth round, Zhang had it. I feel like she definitely started to pull away where I thought Joanna would be like, yes, keep on going. But, I mean, she just had a ton of volume.
Wasn't there a takedown in the 5th by Yang?
You could be right on that. I think there was very minimal attempts. It was very striking-oriented type of a fight.
And I thought we said to each other at that moment, it may have been like the 3rd minute in the 5th round, she just won that fight by that takedown.
With the takedown. But yes, the 5th round I did give to Zhang Weili.
But I also agree with you here, where it deserves a rewatch. By the 5th round, this is where you're totally right, with just going back to myself. I could not stop staring at Joanna's forehead. Yep. And I will also say, by the 5th round, Joanna was totally taking the strikes. Like, she had the more fights on the... I don't really like the fight metric alone. It doesn't answer anything. But she definitely had that number all the way. By the 5th round, she was leading in strike count by like 20 strikes or something like that overall in a 5-round fight. That's really nothing to make it really decisive. But I could not look away from that forehead. But I also have to say this. I may have been the only person on the planet that said Joanna has that Polish forehead swell. I called it here on the podcast. I said
Good point.
she, just like Shevchenko, gets those huge friggin' lumps on her forehead. Because you were talking about the left hand of Yang the whole time.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I think happened. I think that left hand just landed. We're seeing this over and over again, if I want to argue on the side of Joanna. Over and over again, we are seeing that leg kicks don't matter to the judges as much as they should. I think all the judges, before you're a judge in the UFC, you should have to take a calf kick and a thigh kick.
Absolutely.
If you don't know everything, if you're a fight nerd, you can pass the test, whatever the written test, whatever they decide it may be, and you can pass that. You should at least, like a cop has to get pepper spray or a soldier has to get in the gas room, get gas mask.
Right.
As a judge, you should have to get a kick, a hit. Maybe you should have to get knocked out.
I don't think it's a bad idea that you don't have to be even a blue belt. You could just go be a white belt, but you have to roll a little bit to understand
how much work.
What the positions really are.
Yeah.
And it clicks. Once you get on at least I'm a kinetic learner where when I move stuff around, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this makes so much more sense when I feel it. So I would think it's just...
It was close. It wasn't a robbery anyway.
It wasn't a robbery to either fighder. It could have went either way.
I just want to watch it again. I want to be honest.
I
want to see it again. I know everyone's like, what do you do with Joanna now? What do you do with Joanna now? And Zhang's kind of talking shit with Shevchenko and blah, blah, blah.
I already got it. Everyone's been saying it. It's not hard to figure out. The winner of Andrade versus Rose gets the title shot next, and the loser gets JJ.
I know. I just feel like that was such a good fight.
It was
I just
such a
only
good
want to
fight.
watch it again. Like, I don't want them. They were
GG's
such good
lost
dance partners.
3 of her last 4.
The one against Shevchenko shouldn't count.
Agreed. Still
but
2.
Also, 2 were to one person.
Right.
So it's kind of not as bad as it sounds on paper.
True.
And a lot of people thought, the same as this, that Joanna, she's almost the Yoel of the women's 115 now. A lot of people thought she won the second fight with Rose kind of like a Valentina Shevchenko. And a lot of people thought she won this fight.
A lot of people. A lot more than I was surprised. And I had Joanna in this. I had her as my Puesta.
Conor McGregor, Valentina Shevchenko.
True.
They both thought Joanna won.
I thought Joanna, she had 21 more strikes to be exact.
21.
But there was one takedown for Zhang in that entire fight. And was that
about a
that
minute
first
of
round?
control with the takedown?
It doesn't have that specific stat yet.
Which shouldn't overcompensate for 20 strikes, but you can't look at it like that because 17 of those strikes could have happened in a round that Joanna decisively won.
Right.
You know? And this is why are we going to make it a point game? The significant strike number of what they count as significant? We really just need better overall rules. It can't just be in the judges of 3 hoodlums and dopey dipshit inside the octagon.
Absolutely in there. Maybe they should just send them, in a different room with a box TV where they're not be able to be in the contagion room.
Maybe we need a whole show on what we do about judging.
Absolutely in there. So then we move on to the fight that we've been dreading about talking about in the main event.
Yeah, we gave all the time to...
We get in the fight that deserved it in Joanna versus Weili Zhang. Hall of Fame fight. For sure. It doesn't matter what division you're in.
Agree.
The main event came in Adesanya versus Romero. Dana White's blaming Yo Romero. Adesanya's blaming Yo Romero.
About this time, though, they were after it. We got to see Max Holloway, Cowboy Cerrone. We got to see a bunch of people.
Gaethje was sitting down there.
Gaethje was
Paulo
like
Costa
5 rows back.
Had a sex change and turned into a crime boss auntie because
I know. I was like, he looks like the crazy Cuban lady down the street that would babysit you and her husband sold coke.
Absolutely. I was Liza Minnelli.
And they would listen to Sledgehammer. Why don't you call my name? And they had 2 chows. That's what he looks like.
Liza Minnelli, Latin version. Lady.
I know.
It was so weird.
So much just like somebody. It's on the tip. Like, I'm going to see the person that he looks like because there's like a celebrity woman that he looks just like. And when I fucking see it and say it and make a gif about it, it's going to go viral.
Absolutely.
Because people are like... Everybody know, like the second with the shirt, it was like, huh? I wish I could think of who he looked like.
I agree. Again, in my head,
oh yeah,
Griselda,
back to the fight. Look at all this though, more exciting than
the fight. My head is probably that Griselda Blanco from Cocaine Cowboys. Like her best friend. That's who Paula Costa is. Her Gale. Her Gale is Paula
Stacey Dash
Costa.
from the Clueless.
I don't know who that is.
You know the movie Clueless?
Yep.
Dion, her best friend, Dion.
Oh, okay. So again, all more interesting than the main event, where we had a total of like 40 strikes landed for both guys. Maybe 40 apiece, 40 like 8 for Adesanya, 42 for Yoel Romero here. No takedowns. Neither guy really moved forward. Adesanya works best when he's on the back foot counter-striking. Hence, we saw the Kelvin Gastelum knockdown and the Whitaker knockout. Those guys were moving forward on the line. Yoel Romero doesn't do that often. When he does, it's in quick bursts.
Are they both counter-strikers?
I would say, or who wasn't? People are saying Romero isn't a counter-striker. I'm like, we all know he has lulls of time until he bursts.
Yeah.
But he just never burst. He burst once. What was it? The first round, the left punch hit, and Adesanya was like, fuck this.
No, there was another time there was a little explosion that was kind of a slip on Izzy's part, but there was definitely connection there. And then there was an explosion that he tried to do a knee up the middle that fell short.
Right.
But there was a time that Izzy, I don't know if it was considered, it probably obviously wasn't considered a knockdown. But he didn't really get knocked down. He kind of held his hand and got back up.
But it was really just leg strikes. It was really Izzy just moving laterally, pivoting, showing his ring craft in there, and really showing the little bit. He was the guy showing more, but Romero wasn't just engaging as much, staying on the outside of that kick. Who could you blame? Are you on the Dana White side and it's like it's all Romero? I feel like I'm going it's Romero's fault, but it takes two to tango.
They were just a bad match, but I don't want to lose my... It's kind of like the Tyron Woodley. You're going against somebody who's a certain type of fighter. You have to do a certain type of fighting to be smart enough to beat that fighter. Unfortunately for Woodley, he wasn't bringing the crowd on Adesanya is, so Dana White was never going to say that in his favor. But that's kind of exactly what it's about. It's one strike from Yoel, we all know, is deadly. It did show Adesanya took a few strikes from Yoel. He has a good chin.
He said he was hurt from that first strike. Adesanya did. That's why I'm saying it. With that, literally that first left, but that was the hardest strike I feel like of the fight as far as it comes to like either fighter head.
And if you want to be
strikes.
active, you kind of have to be smart against Yoel, or he takes 2 years off your life.
Absolutely.
We haven't seen anyone come back good from a Yoel fight.
Adesanya was probably going to bounce back pretty good. He took
hopefully, but
minimal.
I'm saying, but if I had anything to learn, if I'm Adesanya watching it, I'm like, oh, do I want to get in there? And Adesanya's not a strength fighter. What do you expect you're going to see him in there, like, Chuck Liddell all of a sudden?
Right. He's a precision type of a guy in there for sure. With Yoel Romero, though, with what you were saying, I think other fighters realize this, and all of a sudden Yoel Romero gets in a bunch of boring fights because they're like, hey, guess what? If I don't walk into his hard-ass punches or knees, he really doesn't do tons. Like, I can just back up anytime he bursts.
So Yoel kind of gets in a spot of, like, the Ronaldo Souza all of a sudden where, okay, we're always excited to see a Yoel fight. Great. Right. And then he's just there. He's not title contending. But now we have Stylebender, who is supposed to be fighting roided up Aunt Becky. What do we do? How does he go against that? Because Costa is not a counter striker.
Well, Costa's going to move forward.
Yeah.
For sure. And as we're saying, Adesanya is way more of a counter striker, but we've seen supposedly Paulina Costa beat a counter striker, Yoel Romero, by just getting in his face and just keeping it on him. I think though Izzy's going to be able to find that big shot though. If he runs in at some of those times, it's a fun fight.
Here, I bet you Izzy's the underdog going into that fight.
Do you think Costa makes weight though? He looked plump, as we're saying. He looked plump as a clump. To me, he was round everywhere.
Yeah. But he's watching the fight, so he has to wait for an Izzy heel and an Izzy fight camp, so he has plenty of time.
He tried to hire a doctor or a fake doctor to tell Dana White that he was cleared. Did you hear about that? Did Costa?
No.
Yeah. He told his buddy to tell Dana or the PI that his arm was fine and he was cleared to start practicing. And they're like, oh, okay, give us the fishes and no.
Mofo. He's a scary motherfucker, and I think he's scarier than Yoel Romero. Even though, looking back, a lot of people thought Yoel Romero won the fight against Costa.
When you're taking horse plasma, you heal faster.
Yeah. True.
There's something Costa's on.
Ain't that right, boo? True.
Absolutely.
So that's the next fight for
UFC 248, was it worth it? Did the dreams keep you alive and going? I mean, fight of the
you did
contender.
make us an amazing candle with Bruce Buffer on it, the Bruce Buffering candle. And it did keep the stream nice.
It did. We've got to start marketing in those because
we should have it here.
Absolutely, I was thinking that too. I got to make a couple more.
We should have it here, and they should have a LaTB logo on them. And
Easy
then
enough.
maybe we give them or have a contest or something and make like 3 of them, and then people can win the Bruce Buffering candle.
Boom!
Yeah, that would be kind of fun. If you guys are into that, let us know.
Definitely let us know, and we'll have to think of some way of figuring open contract. That sounds fun. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
why
that.
not?
We got it. We got it under control. So, going into the Twitterverse, there's been a lot going on in the Twitterverse because people are stuck in.
Yeah, well,
They're on
Ohio is closed. Harvard is closed.
Yale.
Florida State is closed. The border's about to be closed. You about to be trapped in. There's going to be a few weeks of darkness. Remember, I told you when you're looking for it, because we might have a new show out.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Coronavirus getting everybody up in here. Coronavirus.
I don't think Corona's going to get as many people
No.
as you think, but shit's going down.
No,
if you're curious, you're like, what's she talking about? Shit's going down. What's she talking about? Mm-hmm.
Well, some other Twitter shit that's been going down. One of the grossest things I've seen in a while. Unfortunately, I am going to drag the moon down from the light COVID talk we're having here. And Abel Trujillo pleading no contest to a sexual assault case with a minor, sending some dick pics. She was under 18. He got caught. He took a plea agreement for sexual exploitation on a child. He's going to have to register as a sex offender. Yeah. Yep. UFC's going to back away from that. Habib's going to be like, I never fought that guy.
If there's a lady that wants a picture of your dick, it's a dude.
Good point.
No one wants your dick.
It's good point.
No one wants it.
Nobody wants it.
If anyone wants a picture of your dick, it's a dude, and they about to spread that shit. They about to put viral on it, or they about to make it viral.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No one wants to see anyone's dick pic. Keep your dick away. I don't know.
So,
piece of advice.
Other dicks that we had in the MMA community, we had Logan Paul training with your favorite #1 crime boss Ant in Paulo Costa. Did you happen to see that fake ass knockdown video?
No.
Logan Paul fakely taken a right hand by Paulo Costa. He's just eating the shot, supposedly training with him. Though, with that boxing experience Logan Paul has, he is a D1 wrestler. I mean, he is an athlete. I don't necessarily care for all that YouTube stuff. I don't really know what he does, other than I know he puts up dead bodies every once in a while. But, yeah.
He is going to have a fight. He will end up having a professional fight against...
it'll probably be Bellator, though. It ain't going to be no damn UFC.
No, it'll be like a football player. There's a football player star that called him out. And it's...
Antonio Brown or something?
I don't know.
That guy who's disgraced?
I don't know.
So, other fun Twitterverse stuff. We have a fun fight on the books with Josh Emmett coming in against Edson Barbosa, Oklahoma City. I feel like we've been calling a lot of fights for Oklahoma City, or a lot of fun matchups.
It's the new Portland.
Yeah, and Portland is so stacked. April 11th.
You know what? I bet that fight's canceled.
Oh, you better not. Oh, no, you better don't.
The fight might go on audience free, TV only.
Fighters only in there? How weird would it be, like Japan and Pride Days where like a knockout happens and you hear like,
I would hate that for them.
I would hate it.
Can you imagine if, for real, I'm putting ourselves in their shoes because it could potentially be your brother, and I really don't wish this on anyone, any of their exciting thing. Like I have a friend going to the NCAA championships, and their whole friggin' thing's going to be canceled now, and it's their most exciting weekend of the year. They always do this.
Expensive weekend of the year, you mean?
But they always do this. It's their thing. They've been doing it for 20 years. So anyways, imagine knowing the UFC is right there and we are not allowed to go.
It would be devastating.
And then we're outside and we want to meet the fighters and they're like, stay away from me.
Exactly.
Stay
no
away from
signatures, don't shake my hand. Alexei Olenek. So, It is definitely.
It wasn't Alexi that was an asshole. It was Rashad. Alexi was awesome.
Yeah, Rashad Evans, a total prick.
Speaking of shaking hands, it's time.
So, other Twitterverse combat sports stuff. Julio Cesar Chavez getting in there at 57 years old, knocking down the ref.
Man, don't talk about this. Robert Whittaker, Darren Till fight is to headline August 15th in Ireland.
That's what they're speculating right now.
Speculation is like masturbation. You only end up fucking yourself.
I love it. I think it's definitely a fun one in there. If it happens, Whitaker's known to, have a strong pull-out game.
I'm excited. I know you just said this, and I am excited Edson Barboza's back.
Emmett Barboza's sneaky.
We'll see with Whitaker. I don't know. I think that is actually... I don't know. Who do you have at this level, at this point now?
Emmett's been able to be finished.
No, not Emmett Barboza. Both.
Oh.
I mean, fuck Emmett Barboza right now.
Okay.
Till Whitaker. Who do you have right now?
I'm going to go with Whitaker. Maybe. Oh, that's a close fight. I want to go Whitaker. I think he's a little more well-rounded just because he's been the champ, but that hasn't been working out for me lately.
I'm going to pick Till. I think his style's a lot like Izzy's, and he's a counter striker like that sits back, and I think Robert is going to be hot off the presses, and something's off mentally with him. And I didn't like at first Till moving up, but the amount every day that he's spending up at this weight class, he gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more filled in and stronger. So I'm going to go with Darren. They're both 170ers. That'll be more filled in 185ers.
Right?
Yeah.
That grew into their bodies, their man bodies in there.
And then obviously Brian Ortega, that slap.
Versus the Korean Zombie. But no, he slapped some K-pop star that's his manager, right?
Yeah.
And he specifically waited for Korean Zombie to go to the bathroom to slap his manager. Sorry, that's a bitch move. I'm sorry. Like, you do that to Zombie. You do that to another fighter. You don't do that to some guy's manager. It's not Ali Abdelaziz in there. You can't just go hitting him in the face. You probably hurt that guy. And
Brian Ortega's a douche.
Who is the...
And the manager probably said, you cost everyone a lot of money and made things really hectic. Like, thank you for nothing.
Yeah, got escorted out of there. And didn't even apologize to Brian Ortega coming off of the mean streets. Remember that Modelo commercial? He had a choice between growing up on the streets, or fight for his life, or fighting in the cage. Modelo. He changed his way. Wrong. He's sucker punching. He got like 3 baby mamas. Gedalia barely got away.
The craziest if he caught the Wuhan flu off that slap. He got Kung Flu'd. Boom!
Oh, is that racist? Because he's Korean. South Korean.
It's true.
South Korean, but they're over here in America. But who is the...
South Korea have an outbreak?
They do have an outbreak. Who is less intimidating than a K-pop star, though? Like, who is the one guy in the corner that you're like, I could eat that guy alive?
You could easily say, without even making a joke, RuPaul, way scarier than any K-pop member.
Huh? With that length? With them teeth? Heartbeat.
RuPaul... No, I mean in a fist fight.
That's what I'm saying. Break your damn fingers on their damn teeth.
Full heels, full wig, way scarier than 2 members of a K-pop band.
Absolutely. I'll actually take money on RuPaul. You can put money on that. Absolutely. And not even young RuPaul.
Yeah, I don't even know. I feel like, is there even anything left to say
after
that? Or should I just drop that business?
Business.
And as always, make sure you are hitting that bell, liking and subscribing. You want to follow the other people from the Fight Pick Championship? You need to go to our social media. That's LaTB, MMA, Emmanuel over here is Zoltanite. I am Weak Neck Baby. And that's where you'll follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And you know what the worst is? Scatting. A beep-doop, bop, beep-doop, ba, dee-doo-dee-dee-dee-dee, da, da.
Sounds like scat to me.
No, I need a little bit of this.
You better wash your hands off after that one. That was dirty. Definitely dirty in there. So, a fun one. We go down into Brasília, Brazil. We're going to take
Are we at a
flight.
high altitude or anything?
I was actually just
You're about to ask me that?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll look it up. You're right. It's
Looks
my
like
job.
we are on the water in Brasília.
Okay, we usually don't have to worry as much.
It's actually not on the water. It's about 150 miles inland from the coast, so they ain't even going to be close. It's going to be humid in there. Ooh, they're about 5,800. No, that's metric kilometers.
Wow, I forgot you had a real computer in front of you. You're so fast over there now.
2,240 feet. So a little bit of elevation, but really not too bad. Nothing that's going to really... I think more the weather in that type of a climate is what's going to get you, because it's the jungle. They're in the middle of the jungle. So, Brasília, it's Brazil versus the world. 12-card bout headlining with Kevin Lee versus Oliveira. But you know we're going to get there. We always start from the bottom to the top. And here, it starts off with one of the dirtiest splits we ever seen in a while. In Veronica Macedo versus Bay Malecki. 1-0 fighter winning her debut in the UFC, losing in an exhibition bout unanimous decision against Lenton, but she's making leaps and bounds at 28 years old. She was a boxer with some pro boxing experience, was Malecki, but actually got a submission against Santana in there in her win. It was a gross fight against the gross opponent as well.
Sorry, every time Santana said.
All these women have literally under 10 fights, some of them under 5, all of their records. So it's really at 135. Some of the worst talent we see, unfortunately. But hey, they got some good Instagram followings. And Veronica Macedo, let's it go. At 6-3-1. Macedo's coming off of a submission win off of Poliana Viena submission armbar 7 months ago. But she is a fighter that I have literally picked against in every single one of her fights. And I was right 3 out of those 4 times. So she came off of a 3-fight losing streak, held on to her career by a nose hair in there against Viana, who was about to fight this last weekend. But Macedo gets it done on the ground. She's got some heel hook wins, but even going back out of regional stuff, it's low level. She's getting better being out of the MMA Fight Factory. The Venezuelan fighter is the favorite here because she does have the better ground game overall over Malecki. But the younger fighter, I feel like, I don't like anything I see from Macedo. The striking, Malecki has a bit of an advantage. If it goes to the ground, Macedo definitely has a shot. I was going to go decision Macedo. This is a dirty-ass split. Give me Malecki. Big fat stay away. LaTB rule for a reason.
It's going to be... I don't want to ruin my streak because I always get the first fight of the night wrong. So I'm going to go with Macedo to stay away from your pick. I'm going to go with Macedo decision. Same dirty-ass split. Nothing to add. This is a big fat stay away.
This is going to be in Brazil. So it's a Swedish fighter versus Venezuelan. Brazilian commissions are known to be a little dirty. They're known to sway a fight or two. So definitely the crowd's going to be in here fighting against the Swedish fighter in here. Oh, this is such not a fun fight to be having a pick specifically. Do you think it's
funny or not funny right now to go somewhere and fake cough a lot?
Not funny. Not funny. What is funny is that Veronica Macedo is a minus 210 favorite against Malecki's
I agree.
plus 200, 9,100 for Macedo on DraftKings, Malecki 7,100. We tell you guys to stay away. If there's a play, I only see it on the underdog. I can't pay for Macedo over 9,000. 8.5 would be too much in a Macedo fight for her in another same spot like this.
Agree.
Then we move on to 125 pounds, where Bruno Silva comes in against debuting foreign fighter from the Czech Republic, David Dorak. David in there, the killer Kroos, is definitely a fun prospect at 125 pounds.
That means clown in Chechen.
That it must because I don't know what the hell that means.
Not.
To me, he looked
you
like.
Want to send me Chechen hate at
That's funny. I thought you were making a Jutko, the Joker, is he Jutsko, I think?
Yeah,
Jotko?
yeah.
Because he looked like a mini Jotko to me, like
Really,
in some
I
of
was
his
thinking
looks.
of the movie The Killer Clown Wow 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 from Outer Space. Did you ever see that as a kid?
I did. It was awesome, but my mom would be like, "Take that garbage off TV." You guys,
It was garbage.
It was garbage. It was.
They
She
got
was right.
covered in cotton candy
She was
and
right.
they drank their blood out of straws. It's probably crazy how true it is.
Bruno Silva, 10-4-2 record, losing his last fight in the UFC against Taha submission 5 months ago. The 29-year-old Brazilian is going to be a slight favorite in here, and all around he was on the Tough House Brazil out of the Team Nogueira, but he's been training actually over with Henry Cejudo and all of those murderers, the Pitbull brothers. He's got a bunch of other guys in there out of that stable that are actually doing well. So Silva's getting good rounds with good people in there, but it's always, I feel like, the John Jones training disciple at times. Sometimes there's the standouts and then the people they beat up on. Yeah, they're going to be a high level, but how do you think they got good?
Do you think we're going to have any issues with the fighters all making it because of the coronavirus making it here?
I think we're going to have to start thinking about that soon.
Yeah, like everybody just start paying attention
Visa
to your
issues.
cards at a
It
time
already
closer.
happened last pay-per-view.
Yeah, where they start
Lee
sniping
and Zhang.
fights off. Yeah.
Or no, they had to months before, like they visa, like, so it's affecting us all. Hopefully it doesn't affect any of the fighters that go down the night before with the corona, bad case of the coronas.
You're about to get a paycheck. You're a small fighter. You've been fighting. Maybe it's your UFC debut, and somebody comes to you and says, "I hear your opponent has the COVID-19," and you're like, "Do you take the fight and still fight?"
I think that fighters are a lot of them are so, you have to be in that state of mind that you're willing to do whatever, that they will fight because they're like, yeah, and it's also old people that are dying, not a strong, fit UFC fighter like me. But that weight cut's going to be scary as hell.
Yeah, when you're going
You're
through
compromising
the mental
your
part
immune system.
Oh, yeah.
Badly, but some of these guys, I mean, here, David is the guy who is going to be a bit taller at 5'6", who has to cut a little bit more weight, but he keeps a high pace. At Bruno Silva's just kind of stayed around all around. He's good on the ground. He has his 125 best. They're small guys.
No joke.
Small guys, but 5'3" is Bruno Silva, so he doesn't have to cut as much, but he's just kind of an all-arounder with a bit better of a ground game. Not tons of power, decisions a lot more than anything. A couple submissions in there. Against David, though, this guy has a ton of pressure. Calf kick city. He is a hype prospect. I'm actually surprised the line isn't a little bit wider after watching some tape. It was against M1 regional guys, but he was fighting 16-3 fighters, 9-3 guys. They weren't just bums. There were guys that actually looked like they had skills, but he did get a bit reckless in there. Like the jab on him, like his switching. He's an orthodox fighter, but he'll switch it on you every once in a while. But he's really heavy on those calf kicks.
He's probably 17 or 18. His age isn't on here.
Right. I do believe he's in that early 23, 22-year range when I was watching it.
This picture's really young on here, but the picture we have, he is not as young.
He's definitely still growing up. He's much more of a man now.
Hermanson and Dan Hooker had a baby. Look at him.
That's where I'm saying, but not even the Joker.
Joker,
yeah.
Hangman.
So,
Jutko, you said.
Jutko.
I was thinking you were talking Jack Hermanson.
But here, I'm actually going to take the near even underdog in David Dorak, the killer. Submission? No, it's not going to be a submission. I actually feel like it's going to be a KO just with the volume. I don't like the recklessness at times, though. I think eventually that's going to catch him against like a counter striker. But he moves forward. Fun addition at 125. I love that they're bringing in a debuting fighting at 25. It means they're keeping the division around. So.
Well, it doesn't mean anything permanent, but I don't think they're going to get rid of the division. They obviously want to keep it here. I don't even think it needs to be a talk anymore, and I don't think it ever was. It's just because DJ left. Right. Dana was mad one night and DJ left. They're two totally separate incidences, and now that's Twitterverse UFC gossip. And the division, I would imagine more divisions, not less, eventually happen.
I hope so as well.
Anyway, any hooba. I don't have too much more to add, and this is completely a shot in the dark decision. I don't remember either of these guys' fights, but I just like the length that Dvorak has over Silva, looking at their stat sheet and looking at their record. And he hasn't gone up against a bunch of cans. He has guys with legitimate records, but that kind of length, I think we see it take place a lot like Gerald Meerschaert versus Wynn. And so I can picture some leg strikes in the first round. Second round, the attempts happen, and Silva's strong enough to fight off the hand and fight the hand and listen to his coaches. By the third round, he gets in his head a little bit. Submission, round 3, Dvorak, set up by leg kicks.
Love it.
I picture him taking his back, just being that long kind of guy.
He does his best work on the back. When he's on the ground, I didn't watch any tape. Nobody was really able to take him down. So, like the takedown defense. Again, nothing but good things for this young man.
But he's a newbie noob. But Silva's not...
hasn't done anything.
Yeah, hasn't done anything
other
yet.
than his camp, which is probably the biggest accolades out of even all of his fights. Has just never really showed out yet. Still being a young man. On DraftKings, Bruno Silva being minus 125, 8,200 on for David Dvorak. It's 8,000 plus 105 underdog.
Dvorak.
So
like Blanche Devereaux. I don't know if it's Dvorak.
I know it's David. He's got one guy you're going to hear in the crowd. I think it's like brother or dad who's loud as...
And he has a crazy aunt that wears Versace shirts and really red lipstick. And you'll hear her the whole time like,
Moving on to 125 pounds. Do you think you're going to play that, by the way, for a finish at 8,000?
I'm only going to go small on this fight night. I'm going to save my real money for dumping all on Tony Ferguson and El Kakui. Or maybe even a couple of stat cards. We'll talk about that when it gets here. But I'm really going to stockpile my money. This fight card doesn't really excite me enough for me to go super heavy on it. But I'll make a card and I'll put Dvorak on one, Silva on none.
Yeah, 8,000. I think that's definitely the play out of both guys with their career so far. At 125 pounds, we have Marina Bueno Silva coming in against Marina Moroz. Moroz being the...
You have a special nickname usually for Moroz. What is it? I thought you called her Moroz the Gross.
That's Barroso.
Oh.
But she's also she can take that because he's no longer in the UFC. The Gross Moroso, Marina, Iron Lady as well. 9-3. She's fought multiple times in the UFC. Has about 5 fights in there. Beating Szechuan in a decision. Splitting against Danielle Taylor. Losing to Esparza. Angela Hill in there. And last defeating Sabina Mazo in a decision. The Ukrainian fighter is 28 years old and moves forward nonstop. Throwing punches and combinations. But it's really just kind of like a 1-2, 1-2. And she will keep her head straight on the line. She just overwhelms people. She really just gets after people, doesn't worry about getting hit on the ground. She's better on top than she is on bottom by far. But when she gets taken down off of her back, she really doesn't have a good get-up game. So that's where she hasn't been necessarily submitted, but she is easily controlled and doesn't have the best takedown defense in there. Definitely fighter at 125 that I'm not too hyped on is the Gross Moroz, hence the nickname. Silva, though, coming in at a perfect 6-0, submitting Jillian Roberts as an underdog armbar a year 5 months ago. She likes to take her time in there. Also, the 28-year-old is going to be 3 inches shorter than Moroz, but only have a half-inch reach disadvantage in there. Silva has a great counter strike. I believe it's a right hand that actually has power. She has a ton of finishes. A lot of them are off of guillotines, or all of a sudden she hurts somebody, and instead of keep striking, she'll jump all over a guillotine. And against Jillian Roberts, she caught her with an armbar, and that's just because Jillian Roberts was ultra confident. She talked about it, didn't think that this lady was going to be as strong on the ground, and all of a sudden, she found her arm caught up in there. So I feel like this plays perfectly into Silva's game plan, where she likes to sit back. She doesn't strike so much forward, but when ladies walk into her, which they have on tape, she lets them have it, and I think Moroz is the perfect tango partner for that. So I think it's going to be a submission round number 2. I could see it round number 1, but I think it's set up by the hands. I think she hurts Moroz. See that little noggin head turn the head, and she goes for a leg, and then she's like, oh, ninja choke? I know this. Real quick, fight's over. So I actually like Silva for the finish in here, the slight favorite. Who do you have in this fight? And
I actually have the decision for Silva a little late. Later than that in round 3. It's because I'm not quite sure of it because of the rule of like welcome to the UFC. That rule can usually be canceled out when we're in Brazil with a Brazilian. It's like 2 perfect storms versus each other. And Moreau's just never really excited me. She didn't excite me at 115. She doesn't excite me at 125. I'm just picking Silva because of everything you said and listening. I have no idea anything about her. All I'm going with is what I do know about the Iron Lady. So, Bueno Silva, submission round 3. Like looking through her record and stats.
Right. She's been known to do it. On DraftKings, the minus 140 favorite is Silva, 8,500 against Moroses, 7,700 plus 120 favorite in there. Not going to be playing Moros anywhere. I actually have the submission finish as well, so I got to be playing her at 8-5. She's middling in there. She's going to be able to, I think, to pull it off. So that's someone I'm going to play.
Stay away from this altogether.
WMMA doesn't do it for you all the time?
This has nothing to do with the lady fight.
It's
just their low output, and I think there is going to be so much time of fighting the hands that neither of the ladies is laying.
There's no points going to be involved.
That by the time the submission comes in the third, it still might be 55, 65 points.
One doesn't have 10 fights, the other one's barely breaking 10 fights. So also super low. I'll be playing some Silva in there.
Then we move me all sexy right before the Wuhan flu gets out. Trying to make me sexy. That's how they'll remember me.
That's how they'll exactly.
Like Corey Haim, 222.
Oh, that's a whole debacle in itself. Woo! That was a fun divergence from tape study. Then we move on to 135 pounds where we have Henrique Barcelos coming in against Ronnie Yaya. Does not want to be pronounced Hani. He goes with an R. So Yaya in here being the 26-10 longtime veteran. Both of these guys being longtime veterans. Yaya last losing a decision to Hickey Simone in there via decision where he couldn't get any of his ground game going. And we really saw where Yaya isn't a great striker. Doesn't have the best gas tank. It's gotten better, but still lacks in that third round. And if he can't get a takedown, he can't implement his ground game. And guess what? Fight gets away from him very, very quickly. And in this fight, that's the exact style. That's what Fuego in there, El Fuerte, Barzola does. He is anti-wrestling, stay up striking. He's from Peru. He's been at Top Team. I think he's now at AKA, but he's bounced around a little bit. But cardio has always been through the roof. And a 35-year-old Yaya with a long career, so is Barzola with his, I believe he was an Olympic wrestling standout. I don't believe he ever placed, but still, those wrestlers just showing that they can kick it in that second and third gear. Didn't like his last showing as much, being 16-5. Barcelos last losing a decision to Evolev. The output got to him there. I had Barzola because I still like him. But he beat Bobby Moffitt, lost to Kevin Aguilar in a close decision as well. And then has beat other standout fighters as well. But really, it's rinse and repeat with Barzola. We know what he's going to do. Good jab on him, and you're not going to be able to take him down. So I got a decision, Barzola. I think there's going to be a low-scoring fight on DraftKings just because it's going to stay on the feet, and the pace is going to be Barzola's, but it's still Yaya's super low-paced in there. That gas tank just always worries me.
I know you can even see him after the second round running after people with one arm out with total defeat.
And then he'll jump into his back like, yeah, come jump on me. But everyone's like, we saw tape. We know you're...
Get up.
Exactly. Come on. And then he's like, damn it, I can't win strike. Oh, okay, well,
Barzola's a better version than Ricky Simone.
I think maybe a little less, but the same. They're in the same like, maybe Ricky Simone's a bit better, or is more of a specialist.
I would have Barzola in that fight, I think.
It's good. It'd be a dirty split, but I agree. But I go with Barzola. I like Barzola's style. I'm always like, yeah, you can't take it where you want to, especially against these ground guys that are specialists, which Yaya is. Like, but the line shows that Barzola is being a big favorite, somewhat of a big favorite, almost 2-1, minus 190 against the plus 165 underdog. Yaya, 8,700 for Barzola.
Oh, that's surprising. A majority of Tapology has Yaya.
As a win?
Yeah. They have 61%.
Wow.
The majority by submission.
By submission. So they're thinking they get him to the ground. I mean, I
have dirty split decision Barzola.
I got a decision as well, Barzola. But it is going to be dirty. But he's going to win 3 of those rounds. But they're going to make it a 29-28.
Could they steal it in Brazil?
But I think that's where Barzola can make it a 30-27. And it'll
make it decisive.
And they'll make it a split decision. And you're like, how?
And they're like, we're already going to steal it later. We're not going to waste it on Yaya.
Like, don't worry, you're getting the Corona on the way out. I mean,
Don't forget,
Corona.
do you want a lime with your Corona?
Yeah, exactly.
You put the lime in the Corona, and then you get a mask and put the lime in the Corona, and then you drink some antiseptic. That didn't rhyme. A little new agey.
That was
I just
on that scat level, new age scat level.
Yeah.
So I like it. Anything? Do you think you're gonna play Barzola for 8,700?
Maybe on one.
Maybe
on one. Maybe.
It's steep for him.
I know I'm not. Maybe. It depends on what I can afford, but maybe on one. He's
Right.
a maybe.
Absolutely agreed with that.
Yeah, nowhere.
Then we move. Agreed. Yeah, nowhere. Then we go on to 170 pounds where we have Elizu Selexki coming in against Alexei Kunichkeo, the Wolverine. Wolverine is 20-1, getting his first professional loss of his career against Gilbert Burns' decision 7 months ago, where we saw the 35-year-old's gas tank finally start to give a little bit in that second and third round. He is a Kyokushin guy, came over with all of that karate background. On the ground, he's more than serviceable, really can keep a fight standing if he likes to. Against Zaleski, who is the more all-around better fighter. He's not the better striker, but he has more power in the striking, does Zaleski, but on the ground by far is going to be better. But Kunishkayo is good enough. Alexei in there is good enough to not get submitted, so I don't think I see necessarily the submission there. But what I don't like about it is the 21-6 Zaleski is coming off of a big-time finish as of late to Li Jingliang 6 months ago, where his gas tank failed him all of a sudden, and it was completely lights out 6 months ago. We like 6 to 8 months, a little bit longer the better, but I don't know if I've ever seen Zaleski go out that way before, so his mind's going to be a little bit jacked up in there. The Brazilian obviously has a hometown advantage with Zaleski being 33 years old, 2 years younger. I'm going to stay away from this one. I think it can turn into a dirty split, but I got decision Zaleski, especially with a hometown. Kunichkayo has to knock him out. He has to finish him. Zaleski gets it pretty much any other way. The striking's going to be close in this. If Zaleski gets takedowns, it's going to make it easier for him.
You're nervous here about Zaleski being glass-jawed.
Correct.
I kind of get that, too. And so if he can make it through that and we watch him take the first few big shots from Kunchenko, you'll be like, whew, he's going to be fine.
Right.
He's going to be fine. Like, you can see Kunchenko working him out a little in the hand stand-up department, but you know Zaleski's got any of the ground. Anywhere it goes in the grappling exchanges, Kunchenko might have strength at the beginning, but other than that, Zaleski should have that everywhere. So hopefully he's taken enough time off. How long has it been since?
6 months. That's what I'm saying.
It was a brutal knockout.
It was bad. That's where it's like, give me 8 months.
It made me on a hype train of
give me
the
8
Leech.
months. But they go to Brazil and he's like, I'm a Brazilian. I don't care. I could have been knocked out a month ago. I'm fighting in Brazil.
Are
and
you
it's
saying that he might have acai?
Great point. USADA ain't going to be here. And Zaleski has looked like he could have definitely, injected himself with some of that
This is
vaccine.
either a fast knockout, which could happen, or a Zaleski decision. But I'm going with the Zaleski decision. I might put it on one or two. I could have both guys on one.
Minus 125 favorite Zaleski, 8,400 against Alexei's 7,800 plus 105. Pretty close on the lines. I think a lot of people are in that same boat with Zaleski off that big finish. And Alexei has looked good. He's serviceable, but he doesn't look like he's going to be a contender. He's just going to say he was a fighter and probably move on to better things eventually. Anything left with that one?
No.
Then we go to a profile fight in Amanda Ribas coming in against Ronda Marcos. The Quiet Storm is coming to Brazil. Ronda Marcos being an Iranian wrestler who has been wrestling forever. We watched Hebas beating Dern as of late. The 8-1 fighter has definitely been a standout in her last 3 fights. A lot of bettors coming in on her, or big bettors on the underground coming in on her in her last fight against Dern. But here, Ronda Marcos tends to grapple. We've seen her fall in love with her striking. It's usually when she loses his decisions. She's a split decision queen, is Ronda Marcos. She's not only in enemy territory, but Ribas has looked nothing but good everywhere. She's also a high-level ground fighter. I want to say she's a black belt, but I know that she is maybe a purple belt. Actually, I could be jumping the gun a little bit there, but she did it right from the people her last fight over when it was like all said and done. And it's like, no, she has been working steadily at 26 years old here to be the champion. It's a local gym, but either way, really liking what I see. Against Marcos here, the 34-year-old, I think it's actually the striking. I think that Marcos is going to try to get her takedowns going after she loses she's going to be the slower striker here with not as much variety. And Ribas showed great takedown defense. And then even on the ground when she is taken down or gets on top, she looks ultra strong. Marcos has to get a decision. I don't see a finish for Marcos. I don't see Marcos finishing this spot. At best, I see her getting a decision where I actually have Amanda Ribas TKO round number 2. I think that strikes add up, and Marcos is on a lose one. She's a win one, lose one fighter for the last 10 fights. She's on a lose one in Brazil. Going into enemy territory, I'm playing that narrative. Give me Ribas, the big favorite.
I really like this fight as well. Sad to say this, though. I know Amanda Ribas is one of the hype train, or I should say hardcore hype trains, and that has way more respect than just a regular person hype train. It's hardcores are watching her come up, and they're like, oh shit, they like every single fight. She's getting a little better. They like what she's putting together in there. Her ring IQ is getting better. She's getting more well-rounded. People are really pulling for her. I can feel it. But I'm going to say this now. Honda Marcos
love it.
Is one of those fighters that, like a Jim Miller, like who's the carny? Nick Lentz. She's a wet blanket in a fight.
Absolutely.
She has a way of stifling somebody and testing their true MMA well-roundedness. Because she is so grindy. She keeps coming forward. She has the same stance the entire time. You're like, damn, she just keeps taking it right on the crown of her forehead.
Exactly.
Yeah, the same stance, just coming forward the whole time. And I can't remember a time that she's been finished. She just stalls out a fight and really makes it grimy. I think this is a perfect next step for Amanda, for us to see where she's at. I don't see her getting the submission because I think that Honda Marcos's wrestling's a little too good for the jiu-jitsu, but I do see her getting the win. I think she'll stay with her striking when she needs to, and if there is a takedown by Marcos, Ribas will end up with control and in the more dominant position on the break that no one will remember the takedown. So I see it going to Ribas. I think it's going to be a 29-28 or closer than people think, maybe even a split. And it's purely because of Ronda Marcos' fight style. She's one of those fighters that's just never going to really run for a championship, but she's the swamp you got to get through to get to that level. And give me Amanda Ribas. But, the other thing?
Yes.
I usually just don't like a fight I picture going to decision. I know you see the knockout, which is worth points all by itself. I actually see it going to decision, but I see Ronda Marcos as that perfect punching bag style fighter that will be able to take the massive amount of strikes that it takes for one of those decision fights to get to those next numbers where we see 111, 122 on DraftKings.
I don't think that's wrong at all. The big favorite, minus 345, Amanda Ribas, 9,300 on DraftKings against Ronda Marcos, 6,800 plus 285 underdog. So the line's been steamed up dramatically. Bettors coming in even more, so they didn't think that minus 200 was enough. I see it as well. I got to finish. It will not be on my 5 picks championships.
I'm going to be real. I'm going to have maybe Amanda Hebas on 1 or 2. I'm going to have Ronda Marcos on 1.
I'm not going to have Ronda Marcos anywhere.
I think...
Hebas on a 2.
Well, we are in Brazil, too. I just think she's from a smart camp as well.
Is it TriStar?
Yeah.
So, actually, great point, because we're on these narratives of one whole camp, all China, no China, this or the other. There's like 4 TriStar guys coming up here. So, Ronda Marcos being one of those TriStar people, they've been having a little bit of success as of late, but she's the first one. I feel like there's maybe 2 more, Kevin Lee being the other big profile TriStar fighter in there. So
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get Hebus putting her ass a few times where it's that adjustment of like, oh yeah, they're still wrestling in this game, and it's how dominant it is. I think Marcos is that perfect. I think wrestling as the skill is the swamp. You get to this certain level where you have to hit a wrestler that you're like Claudia Gadelia. I think of a bunch of women in the 115 too that are also that wrestler where it's like, like it puts the brakes on a fight.
Yeah, all of a sudden, right.
But I could see that too. They're both low scoring. It ends up the brakes are put on and there's like a halt to it.
That's why I'm not going to go heavy on Reba, especially for 9,300, but I am going to play her out of the 2 fighters, staying away again.
I'm glad we had this conversation. I'm even more excited about it.
For Marcos. Then we move on to another profile fight. We got a few of them. We got some sneaky ones on here.
This is one of my little boyfriends.
This one in Jussier Formiga being one of Cheney's boyfriends coming in against Brandon Moreno.
You,
well, you don't like Formiga? He beat Figueiredo.
I like Jussier.
You don't like the juice? I
like Jussier too.
So, we had Brandon Moreno coming in.
Jussier has a podcast called Fighting with Formiga.
That's awesome. He should. Absolutely should. But
you can have that because I know you're going to take it anyway.
Boom. Then we had Brandon Moreno coming in with a 16-5-1 record, coming off of a profile win 2 months ago against Kai Kara France in a fight of the night contender in there. Getting a draw split decision against Askarov, beating Perez, having, coming back to the UFC, but really coming into his own at 125, looking monstrous in his size in there. He's got some of them stick legs. Honestly, but he's been using his kicks.
He got a man body all of a sudden.
He did fill out. He's definitely growing into himself very well. That jab's finally on point. Kai Kara France all of a sudden ran into that wall. Moreno getting that jab going, showing that he can keep the fight upwards when he needs to. The hard thing is that Moreno still doesn't have the best takedown defense. He was taken down against France. He eventually was able to keep it standing with those leg kicks and compromising the fighter enough. But Formiga's a type of fighter that if he gets you down once, that's all he needs. Moreno's shown serviceable submission defense, but he has been submitted. His weakness is just him allowing himself to get taken down. Again, I'm seeing the growth in his takedown defense, and he's saying, I'm working on my ground game.
There's a growth in his body, ring IQ, and takedown. Like, everything's happening. He's only 26.
Exactly. He's already come back to the UFC, but he's been up and down the states. He's training in Mexico, but I know that he regularly goes up with Eddie Bravo, all those guys, and they all got nothing but nice things to say about the young man. Against Formiga, though, coming off of a loss, last beating the unofficial champ in División Figueiredo, but getting knocked out by Joseph Benavidez 8 months ago via punches in there. Formiga had a long-time winning streak in there against Sergio Pettis, Ben Nguyen submission, Sakai. He just proves to these guys, if you are lacking on the ground, Formiga will exploit you. And it's because he gets in on that clinch, gets those underhooks, really likes to shoot a lot of takedowns, get to the ground. It's the reason I picked Formiga over Figueiredo on that big-ass plus money puesta back in the day. It's just a ground game. He doesn't like to keep it striking because he knows where he's good. And once he gets on top, he's a blanket, as you were saying before, but he's deadly. He has just really unique attacks.
Because he'll stick a dick in your butt.
He'll definitely get you. They are in Brazil. Formiga's a big favorite
and he
here.
has a big load. That's why they call him Jussier.
That's why it's the juice in there.
Sorry.
But he's a big favorite here. I like Moreno. I like where he's coming from. He's an underdog at plus 145. I need an underdog for the night. He's going to be my first one. Give me the Assassin Baby. Cheney's number one boy toy.
I'm going to jinx your pick accidentally because I just looked at I haven't gotten a Moreno right fight in 4 fights. I've gotten them all wrong for 4 fights. I just have a bad read on him, but I'm liking what I'm seeing of him coming out. He was enormous to Kaikara France, and Juicy A looked kind of like small to Joey B. I actually see the knockout coming. I think you watch that tape. A guy at 34, almost 35 years old is not going to change the hole that Joey B found watching tape. I think Brandon Moreno exploits the same thing. I think he downloads them for round number 1, finds it for round number 2. I think you're going to see a Mexican flag on the side of the cage when he jumps on and raises it, and they're gonna boo.
Absolutely.
KO round 2.
Oh, I got a decision. You are definitely going out on a limb. I love it. It's going to be a fun one. Both going with the underdog at a minus 160 favorite for Juicy A Formiga, 8,800 on DraftKings against Moreno's 7,400
I love
plus
that underdog
140.
pick. You're right on that.
Yeah, I'm going to 7-4. Going to be playing for 8-8. It's really making me hesitant to want to bet Moreno in here, but we know what it is. It's the ground game. So, give me Moreno. I got a decision. Hesitant on that one.
I hate the next fight being the first fight on the FPC. That's the Fight Pick Championship.
Why? I think it's an easy one. On the Fight Pick Championships in the main card.
If you need to know anything about the Fight Pick Championships and you're one of the, I call them FFers, that means fuck faces, but also fast forwarders, and you just are listening to the main card, we talked about the Fight Pick Championships early.
For
so
sure.
you should go back and listen to that. And if you didn't listen to the business, you're not going to know how to follow any of the people we talked about.
Absolutely.
So you're just doing a disservice really to yourselves. Yeah, you can go on with this.
And you know all those people are listening to our show, waiting for our picks, be switching all them, the big pink weenie, you know I'm talking to you. You know. So, here in the Fight Pick Championships, it was dirty. It was dirty.
Big pink weenie. One more thing before the Fight Pick Championship, speaking of.
Main card.
Isn't it somehow grosser to be in a public restroom and touch anything at all than it is to even wash your hands sometimes?
Much more aware of where my hands are in the day now. Definitely.
I'm wearing sweaters every day so I can do the old linky.
And we live in Florida with 82-degree weather right now.
Linky. Okay, sorry. Now, I just figured we should talk about something like that because we are getting into what I think is a dirty fight.
A dirty one with another TriStar standout. In the main card, opening it up, we have John Medeski coming in against Francisco Trinaldo. A constant staple in the division is Trinaldo at 24-7, coming off of a win to Bobby Green in a controversial decision, losing a controversial decision to Alex Hernandez in Texas, KO in Dunham, losing to Vic in a decision, beating Miller. I mean, Trinaldo is 41 years old. He's got, you know what we label him as here. He is definitely a cut above, got that strength, that jungle strength in there, and just hits with like a truck in there. The 34-year-old is usually older than most of his opponents at 155. Medeski's coming off a 3-fight winning streak, last beating Abel Trujillo, Ross Pearson in a decision, and Jesus Pinedo in a decision 11 months ago.
Jesus!
The 17-6 fighter, Medeski's lost to Venata via TKO, and just has edged out fights. He's a point fighter coming out of that TriStar gym, as I was saying. His background is Taekwondo, throws a lot of kicks, will throw some spinning back fists, spinning heel kicks and stuff in there, but much more of that point fighter. But you know me, I've been fading Medeski since the time I saw him get knocked out against Venata. It's just that shin, I feel like, really bothersome when he gets hit. The thing is that now his game plan is to stick and move, and he doesn't try to get into any of those engages now. I feel like he's self-aware about his chin, so his fights tend to be dirty splits now, dirty decisions. He definitely knows how to drag it out. But I feel like Trinaldo here, perfect stylistic matchup. They were like, Brazil, you want finishes? We'll give you finishes. And Trinaldo is set up for a guy who I think that can set up traps, is a known Muay Thai striker, nasty in the clinch, has a good takedown and great takedown defense, but you don't have to worry about that against Medeski. Medeski ain't taking you down. I think he's maybe shot like 2 takedowns ever in there, but I got Trinaldo TKO round number 1. I'm fading that chin. Fading that chin big. I'd fade it against lesser, harder strikers, and Trinaldo's a heavy hitter. Hurts everybody in there. I could also see it turning into decision just because all of a sudden if Medeski eats 2 shots and is like, fuck this, then it turns into circling the cage and a lot of booing in there. But I like Trinaldo for the finish. Who do you have and why?
I want to pick Medeski decision. I'm going to have decision either way, and I don't like either of these guys really going forward. And it's just kind of a damn shame. I pick Medeski decision, and I'm pretty good at picking who he's going to beat and not beat. I've gone with him his last 2 fights. I haven't been wrong on him in a long time. And I feel like he can be faster than Trinaldo, and he is smart enough to avoid the big punches now. Trinaldo does have a lot of power. It is really frightening, but it's been a long time since he's KO'd somebody. And, well, I guess Evan Dunham, but I don't think Evan Dunham. Oh, that was a knee to the liver. I want to switch to Trinaldo decision, and the majority of people think that, and he's the favorite because everyone sees obviously what you see. I'm gonna pick Trinaldo decision. But I don't see the quick knockout. I think it's going to be a Holly Holm type fight where he stays on the outside and stays far away from that, but it's an obvious win
just
for
like
Trinaldo.
a bird.
Yeah. Ugh, I think it's a dirty fight.
Dirty fight in there. But even in a dirty fight, they give it to the Brazilian in Brazil. Yeah. Absolutely in there. On DraftKings, 8,900 for the -160 favorite. Francisco Trinaldo coming in against John Medeski, 7,300 plus 140 underdog.
So right now we're no star.
I don't mind it.
Right?
I'm no star right now. That's a great point. I am no star right now. Interesting.
The royal we. Right now we're no star. You're like, right now I'm no star, bitch.
Do you think you're going to play Trinaldo at 8,900? It's pretty steep.
I don't.
He has to get a finish in there.
I mean, he could. It's the right chin to go against to get the finish, but I don't think so. I think we're going to even see Trinaldo stand in the middle of the octagon and be like, come on, fight me.
I absolutely could see that too, where it's just someone running away, and it's hard to get a knockout when somebody's just not there. So then we move on to 205 pounds, where we have the battle of the nicknames in Johnny Walker versus Nicola Al Capone. I mean, the Mina, Krylov, Cryon, Craylon.
Crayon.
Every nickname
Box
you can give these guys. So, this is actually a really fun fight, but...
Crayons, that should be something when you're in Walgreens getting alcohol and swabs and everything else for quarantine that you won't need. Because this ain't a big deal, everyone. There's something different going on. Gonna say it again. Listen back. While you're in there, get yourself a coloring book and a box of 64 crayons or 128 crayons.
It's good meditation.
Yeah, why not? Well, you don't have to do adult coloring book. People pay an extra $10 to get one that says adult on it. When just go get a real coloring book.
Absolutely.
Just go get real
99 cents coloring book.
People spend like $10.99 a marker to get some artistic marker, and it's like, just go get some bomb ass crayons.
It might be the Baber.
Go get some bomb ass Nikita crayons.
Exactly. At 205, this one could definitely go outside of the lines, where Johnny Walker comes in with that tons of power, last getting finished off of Corey Anderson, being 17-4. He's been finished before in his career, showing that there's levels to this, where he was caught by an opening that Corey Anderson saw. Not having much power as Corey Anderson is what really is worrisome about that. But Johnny Walker's he's a wild card. He jumps around from camp to camp, goes all over the world. He's
just making babies.
Definitely has a few girlfriends on the way, but definitely is now, I feel like, either in Brazil or at ATT. But he was like in Thailand forever, and he just keeps wanting to rep all these places. Even in Britain, I think he spent time. But Walker is loving his life being a UFC fighter. Definitely needs a rebound here. If we said we didn't like the 6 months, this guy's coming back after 4 months being not fully KO'd, but it was definitely, they rightfully stopped it. I mean, he was definitely on wobbly legs, got hurt a few times in there. And against Nikita Krylov, the 26
He had
and
such a
7
good
fighter,
knockout that he still has too much steam.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where I'm actually really interested in this underdog as well, because I think the hype is still ultra high on this guy who's shown that, whoa, there's issues there. There's issues there for sure. There's openings to that wildness. Krylov, a lot like Moreno, came into the UFC, got some wins, losses.
Great comparison.
They
Great
kicked him
comparison.
out. He came back a whole new fighter. Maybe the juice got a little... Maybe he hung out with Jussier Formiga.
The acai!
Definitely. But he's a guy who moved down from heavyweight and actually moved down to 205. Looking like he's grown into himself at 27 years old. Both of these guys are 27. Both of them tall. 6'5" for Walker against Krylov's 6'3". The size isn't going to be as big as an advantage, but Capone strikes well in here. He hits with power, he has straighter punches, and out of all of the competition, losing a split decision to Glover Teixeira 5 months ago, I feel like is more reputable than a lot of other fights. He submitted Vincent St. Preux in there after he hurt him, lost to Jan Blachowicz in a submission. That doesn't look so bad right now, but he's definitely had some other marquee wins in there.
Here's the question.
Yes.
Krylov versus Corey Anderson. Who do you have winning that fight?
It's so close because of the wrestling, but I'm going to go with Krylov TKO round 1.
Me too. It seems easy. I know MMA math. Why doesn't anyone have a podcast called MMA Math?
I'm sure I've seen it. I've seen it.
But I just think MMA Math, it's an easy win for Krylov.
Round 1 is what I got for this fight.
What do you got, a round 1 knockout?
That's exactly what I'm picking for Krylov.
I have a round 2 submission, and now that you're saying it, I'm giving him too much credit. I'm going to go with round 1 submission. I think he hurts him and takes his back, and he's getting smarter. His ring IQ's getting better. I like your round 1 just because it's a lack of faith on Walker. You can't trust anything he does in there.
Right. He's flash finish either way. He's either finishing him or he's done. But that's where he's... You
it's
gotta
like
play him on DraftKings.
A crazy dog on a chain that's like, burr, 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 burr. You could let him go and he may attack, or he may just run past that person and never come back.
Right. But Nikita Krylov...
Or he may do the worm and blow his shoulder out.
Absolutely. Definitely a wild card is Walker in there. Nikita Krylov, though, hits with power, and he can be just as wild. He's been in some of the funnest rounds of the years at time, is Nikita Krylov. But... here with the plus 125 underdog.
If he doesn't have to worry about being submitted, I usually like him. I usually like Nikita.
I agree with that. Krylov here, 7,600 plus 120. Walker, Johnny Walker, 8,600 on DraftKings, minus 145. I'm going to be playing actually both sides of this because of that wild. I think you got to play this fight, though. And I think you have to because it's one or the other. I think the only
sure thing is that it's not going to go to decision. I hate saying that. Every time lately that we say that, that's the new curse of the
that
game.
Is
it's the new, you walk into a restaurant and you're like, it's so quiet in here. And then you're like, all you hear is forks dropping and chattering. You're like, what happened to this?
There's no way this can be boring. And then you get Yoel Romero Adesanya.
Exactly. I'd always go back to the Derek Lewis and Ngannou. It haunts me.
Hey, we made a history for all sorts of reasons.
That's my tweet. Like, I had a nightmare last night about 2 black men. I woke up and it was Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. They're making me watch that fight on repeat.
It works for both fights.
Yeah, either one.
So
doesn't it seem scarier, Derek Lewis and Ngannou, than Yoel Romero and Adesanya?
I mean, I think it sounds like a rap group.
I think I just said Israel Adesanya's whole name.
That's funny. So, you going to be playing? How much are you going to be playing of either one of these guys?
Well, I feel like I'm running out of people to play, and since we figure that it's a quick finish, maybe I'll just have to they'll be the hot sauce. Well, they'll both be on. I might have Johnny Walker on 1, Krylov on 3. I'm going to do 5 cards probably.
I agree. I like that. I'm going to be playing more Krylov, but I got to hedge that a little bit with Walker in there. But 8-6, steep. There's the values all over Krylov on that spot. Then we move on to a 155-pound bout where we have Renato Moicano moving up from 145 pounds to face Damir Hadzovic.
I think this is a profile fight.
In the Bosnian bomber in here. Hadzovic, as you're saying, has been in some real profile fights. Some fight of the night contenders in there. Last coming off of a loss to Christos Giagos 9 months ago. Prior to that, beating Poto Reyes in a KO. Beating Nick Hein. Losing to Alan Patrick in Brazil. But that marquee win over Marcin Held, where he was losing the entire fight until that knee 2 years ago. Hadzovic has had a lot go on in his life. Having a kid, having a fight, letting that affect him in his last fight, he was saying, against Giagos. Letting those external figures get in there and really mess him up. But what we saw, or what we have seen with Hadzovic, is he is a great striker. He throws with tons of power, and he can set up combinations. He's definitely somebody that can put a striking clinic all over you, but he has deficiencies when he's off his back. He has good submission defense, but he can't get necessarily back up to his feet, so he gives up rounds as soon as he gets to the ground. He ain't going to submit him. Held wasn't able to, as wasn't Giagos, but you will be able to just win the fight being on top. Moicano here is a slightly better striker. We've seen some better. He's more of a Muay Thai, longer, straighter. He'll throw that front kick a bit more. Good jab on him. He's over at Top Team, American Top Team. He is going to be the local Brazilian. He's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak to Jose Aldo, and last being murked by the Korean Zombie 8 months ago in essentially one round. Not even one punch, like 2 punches, and it was over in Brazil. Moicano moving up since then, submitting Cub Swanson, beating Calvin Kattar in a decision, and losing to Ortega.
But not since the move up, right?
No, those were all at 145 pounds. But that's the competition level that Moicano was fighting at. Definitely that championship level with those guys and getting wins over some beasts. But Hadzovic here, he's just... I think he has a shot, and you got to play him as well, because if Hadzovic wins, it's going to be by a knockout, especially with what we saw with Zombie in there. Moicano's just said he's had also some of those head case issues, being a young guy, having so much hype on him and just stresses of life. At least that's what he claimed. At 30 years old, I got Moicano decision. I'm a bit tentative. I think Hadzovic has a real shot in here. I think it's too big of a favorite. I don't know how you can be this big of a favorite against somebody on a 2-fight losing streak, regardless of the competition. It being a knockout that badly, especially 2 times in a row? One by Aldo as well. No, Moicano needed like a year and a half off, not 8 months. Give me Moicano decision. I don't like this. I don't like this fight at all. One bit.
I feel like I'm going to parrot you. I feel the exact same way about every single thing you said. I think this could be grimy, and if it goes to Moicano, it would be a robbery, but it could in Brazil like that. It could be that kind of close fight. I see the better hands going to Moicano here. I too agree. The only danger for Hadzovic is on his back, and frankly, I think Moicano is a better Alan Patrick. He has a little bit better hands, a little bit stronger, just long. I'm hoping he filled out a little bit since his last fight at 155. Have we seen him fight at 155? Yeah, that's where he got knocked out quick with the Korean Zombie on a hot tear.
No, that was 45.
Oh, so this is his first fight at 155.
This is it.
Oh, man alive, you guys. Damir is no joke. I know you guys don't know who he is, and I feel like that's the reason the Moicano is the bigger name here, and so that's why he's a favorite. Hadzovic, if he can keep him at bay, which I feel like Giagos has some good wrestling, and that same kind of thing happened to him, and that was just a recent fight. I want to really pull for Moicano here. I don't think this is going to be his best fight at this. I think this is going to be a dirty-ass split, and I actually feel the same way you do, that Hadzovic could win this fight, even if it's a robbery. Like,
Right. It's going to be close.
Yeah, I
closer
don't, I
than
don't
people
really
have
see
it.
Hadzivic's a nasty hands too.
He's a heavy hitter, and Moicano has shown as of late, not always, but that
I'm not a
he didn't
huge
like those
Moicano
shots.
fan. I've fallen off the Moicano bandwagon in general, and he's had the 2 losses. I go back to his wins against Cub Swanson, who's a guy that I think kind of should have been retired a little bit ago, and even the fight that everyone's like, that was the fight of the year versus him and Gracie. I'm like, I don't even know if that homeboy should be UFC. Like, yeah, he's a submission artist, but anyone that even has... Cub Swanson doesn't have the power to finish him. That's why we saw it go on long enough. And people would be like, "Oh, what would the Korean zombie kid that everyone got on that hype train afterward?" And then he hasn't done so much since because maybe I don't know. Calvin Kattar, I really like him. He hasn't. I kind of was on a hype train of his, and he kind of hasn't done what I wanted. I'm changing to Hadzovic. I'm changing to Hadzovic decision. I could even see a Hadzovic knockout. I really like him. I don't want to follow the crowd here. I know he's such a huge favorite, but I think you guys are overlooking Hadzovic. Does he have that big of a deficiency in his ground game? Was he on his back the whole time against Giagos?
He can't get up when he gets taken down. And Hadzovic has shot 1 takedown in 5 fights where...
like it's a setup fight for Moicano to win. I'm going back to Moicano decision.
1 takedown per fight.
Because I don't like
Moicano.
the loss to Giagos. He has some
Agreed.
wrestling, but he's not going to finish anyone. But I definitely, that shows me a big, huge deficiency in somebody's game. He has great hands, though, and he could catch Moicano, but Moicano's schlick with it. It's like they got to know that game plan. This is a night of submissions.
Absolutely. On DraftKings, Moicano...
Even though I have a decision.
Moicano's going to be 9,400 minus 335 against Damir Hadzovic's 6,800 plus 275. The plays Hadzovic.
I agree.
The plays Hadzovic, absolutely.
It's a dog or pass play.
Absolutely. I'll have 10% of Moicano, but it'll be more in that 2-1 where I'll have twice as much Hadzovic because he's going to allow me to have completely different cards with a 6'8". And there was another 6'9" fighter. Woo! Woo woo! Definitely going to be a fun one. Then we move on to the co-main event of the night. In a grappler's delight, we have Damian Maia coming in against Gilbert
I thought you were
Burns.
going to sing a song. A grappler's delight, and then there was going to be a song. No?
Nope.
You're like, no.
Sorry, nope. I wouldn't even know.
Grappler's delight.
Sounds like a Sunday.
Groove is in the heart. That's what I would walk into.
That's a good one to walk into. You'd have to do the whole boom, boom. This co-main event, though, it doesn't need any introduction. You know what you're getting with Damian Maia in here. The 28-9 standout. He's definitely been a long-time title contender, coming off a 3-5 winning streak, being an underdog in a lot of them, beating Liam Good, Anthony Rocco Martin, and Ben Askren as of late 4 months ago. The 42-year-old gets it to the ground. He had a striking match with Ben Askren. That is one of the funniest striking matches you ever see. Go back and watch it. But here, against Gilbert Burns, who's also a longtime black belt, the 17-3 is nowhere near the level of a Damian Maia. Damian Maia is just a ultra next level type of grappler. Guys, you know what the game plan is. Guys have tried it. I picked Rocco Martin thinking he was going to be able to keep Maia
Burns
off.
the favorite?
He is the favorite by a lot. 2-1.
Sorry to interrupt.
2-1 favorite is Gilbert Burns at 170. The thing here is that at 170 is at 6'1". Damian Maia has never been a lightweight. He's been an 85er who moved down to 70. He's huge in there. And Gilbert Burns is a 155er who recently moved up because he didn't think he could make it at 70. He's filled out, and he's the best he's ever been, throwing a ton of calf kicks now, showing good takedown defense, but really relying on his jiu-jitsu at hard spots in his fights where he can't here. He can't rely on that jiu-jitsu. And Damian Maia is good enough to submit Gilbert Burns. It's just in my head. But regardless there, what I think is going to happen is Gilbert Burns is going to throw them hands. He's on a 4-fight winning streak right now, and that's the way he's been doing it. He's been getting after people. He won a decision with Alban Mercier, beat Alexi, who we were talking about earlier, and last beating Gunnar Nelson in a decision. it was because he was able to keep it up, but he was also, again, relying on that. Ugh.
And doesn't he train with Usman?
Yeah, at the Brasilians, correct. And his younger brother's looking good. Like, he is training around monsters in there. I had TKO. I think I'm going to definitely back off of that. Ugh. I don't like how big of a favorite, but I do like Burns in this fight because I do not like just what I'm seeing from Maia. Against Ben Askren.
And he has some decent wrestling mixed with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
he's one of the fighters that actually does a nice job of mixing the two arts.
He beat Liam Good and Rocco Martin.
Oh, you're talking about Damian Maia. I'm talking about Gilbert Burns.
Oh, right. But I think the better fighters right now is, I think, Damian Maia's competition.
But Damian Maia has garbage takedowns.
I know.
And Gilbert Burns would have better takedowns.
Takedown defense as well.
Yeah, and takedown defense and better hands.
Correct.
Damian Maia, easily better submissions, better on the ground, longer, going to be huge in there.
That's what I'm saying. The size here, I think, he's gonna look way different.
This fight
is closer than the odds.
I don't think you could look at the Askren win at all. We have to take that out because Askren never showed us ever that he was UFC dude.
Correct.
The Anthony Rocco Martin decision to me, like if right now Gilbert Burns and Anthony Rocco Martin were gonna fight, I'd have Rocco in that.
Me too.
So I think he could keep his takedown defense good enough to keep Gilbert Burns at bay and pick him apart. But that wouldn't be what we saw with Damian Maia. That fight, that was handedly takedown. Will Damian Maia not be able to do the same thing to Gilbert Burns and then get caught? But I mean, how often does Damian Maia, when was the last time that he got caught?
Correct.
Usman. And he's just going in against, if you look at the way they're setting him up, it's like co-main event, always in Brazil, grappler.
So as you're saying, he hasn't got caught. I was going to say Usman, Covington were able to decision him, and those are the top tier in there. So I feel like you watch that tape, you try to emulate that, but Gilbert Burns doesn't have that type of gas tank. Oh, it's all about the submission defense.
I'm going Maia decision. I think he can get enough.
I think that's wrong.
I think he can get enough control time. That's going to be the deciding factor. I think it'll be fine that Gilbert Burns feels like he can lose to him. I think it'll be all good. Hugs in the ring.
Gilbert Burns, 9,000 even, minus 175 against Damian Maia, 7,200 plus 155 in here. A lot of people see it going to decision. I could see the finish for Gilbert Burns potentially in here. This is so close. This is such a dirty fight. It's so fun to watch.
Don't you feel like the whole night's a grappler's delight?
Absolutely. Brazil loves jiu-jitsu. The Gracies. They know what they're watching down there. I mean, this is two Brazilians, but Damian Maia's that much more of a legend down there, right?
But maybe it's the passing of the torch?
But Gilbert Burns is in America, being an American, where I feel like Damian Maia trains in Brazil and is like, does schools and all that down there. So, that's such a close fight. I'm scared. I'm scared of that fight.
Me too.
Absolutely scared.
I hate it.
It's way too close.
The Fight Pick Championships are too close.
Absolutely. On DraftKings 9,000, it's going to be hard to pick Burns in there. I think Damian Maia's... I think I'm going to split it up and have 10% of each one of those guys.
I might even go a lot less on this fight night than I thought. I might even go with 4 cards.
These are so
now
close.
Now I'm weaning down cards. Now I'm going 4.
Then we get to the main event at 155 pounds, the profile fight of the entire event. We have Kevin Lee coming in against Charles Oliveira. Du Bronx is coming in here at 28-8 against the TriStar, newly crowned the trilogy to Ronda Marcos and Medeski in here. He is the Motown Phenom, 18-5. Oliveira having a 5-fight winning streak off of Lee's speckled last few fights. He's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak, getting a KO of the year contender in there against Gregor Gillespie 4 months ago, where he iced them with a head kick. Gregor Gillespie coming back and already talking about retirement and how he, in the same dilemma.
Oh, and Damian Maia, I just have to say, he looks like an old man walking to the bathroom in the night.
Made some tweets about that. He's going to walk, yes, stiff as days.
He looks like he just got out of bed. Those first walks that you take, like, some of us on our bad days, some of us on every day, depending on your age. I don't know how, our demographic, not yet, you lucky, but at some point you'll get to an age, we all will, where you get out of bed and you'll be Damian Maia. Sorry, Kevin Lee. Back to
Kevin Lee got that profile knockout over Gillespie. Says it was TriStar. He moved up, got out of Vegas. He's just training up there, living in Vegas for the Performance Institute. But he's a guy. Was it Kevin Lee who flipped off the crowd and got booed in Brazil? Or that was Colby Covington? I think Kevin Lee also did something like that. Did he not? Years and years ago? Where he thumbs downed him.
He's such a tryhard.
He turned his back to the crowd and they definitely were throwing water bottles at the weigh-ins at him. But he's definitely going to get a lot of boos out here against Du Bronx. Lee's a wrestling standout, has power in his hands, wrestling when he wants it. But then there's these interesting fights against Alaya Quinta and Dos Santos submission where you're just I don't know if those guys are necessarily contenders anymore. And you just murk a guy that we thought was a clear shot. So Kevin Lee's a hard read in here, but he's a young man at 27 years old. Du Bronx is usually the young man in there, but he's now 30. He's been fighting since he was 22 in the UFC. These last wins.
Oh, this is another fight. I thought I was just really sure about my pick earlier in the week, and then now sitting here, I felt totally confident about my pick, and then hearing you talk and looking at everything again with fresh eyes. I douched my eyes, and now I have fresh eyes. I have no fucking idea. I don't know, and then it makes me that much more unsure of my entire card. I don't feel good about this week.
He knocks out Edson Barbosa, which is it was a doctor stoppage, but either way.
Do you think the Corona will cancel the Fight Pick Championships for the week? What about a buddy?
I'm trying. What if he gets a Corona and doesn't post the numbers till 5 days later?
What about a buddy gets COVID-19 and gets all the scoring right? I don't wish that on anyone, buddy.
No.
You better wear an N95 mask, buddy.
Absolutely, buddy. Stay off of the White Claws. So definitely this is such a closer fight than they have. I mean, it's essentially a coin flip, but the interesting fights, as we were saying, the wrestling here, Du Bronx has been a guy who quit before. He hasn't quit as of late.
We used to call him a quitter. We haven't for a bit, but
But he's a guy who, when
he's on our quitter list.
Absolutely. But Kevin Lee's also one of these guys who's not a quitter, but a front runner. Where if he doesn't get a healthy lead, he hasn't been able to necessarily come back, even though he has come back in some profile wins against, who is it? Masaranduba in there. But Du Bronx in here is a great Muay Thai striker, great clinch on the ground. He's a spider. He is super nasty on the ground, but Kevin Lee has that wrestling, and he does stifle a lot of people on the ground, and Kevin Lee throws a lot of strikes when he's on top. So if Charles Oliveira doesn't lock up that initial triangle, and Kevin Lee starts to land an elbow or an arm, I feel like Oliveira will give up position because he gets hurt and will all of a sudden start to think of exit strategies, where Kevin Lee is shown a little bit better of a game plan. Ooh, this is such a close fight. This is a weird thing.
Everyone's so high on Kevin Lee,
right?
Because of that last knockout, and it was mildly fluky, and he was enormous compared to Gillespie. Oliveira has not taken a fight out of Brazil, and I don't even remember when. Well, we've seen him in Florida, I think, haven't we?
We have seen him in Florida,
and he was juiced. He was so big looking.
He's grown.
Been on ice.
Absolutely.
He looks so big, so I feel like he's going to be comparable to size to Kevin Lee. I feel like Kevin Lee's going to be more tentative getting that crazy on strikes because of how good the submissions are of Charles Oliveira. I think they're both quitter camps. I think the more submission ability you easily give Oliveira, like you think if Dos Anjos can get it, Oliveira probably can. Kevin Lee has the better hands.
I don't know about that. Du Bronx is, especially as of late, that jab has been on fire. Absolute fire, that jab.
I'm not worried. Kevin Lee has a great chin and he takes a good damage and then still can go forward with a smart game plan. Better cardio, I'd give Lee now.
I would agree with that. This is a 5-rounder, right? Yeah. This is a 5-rounder. You're right. Good point. Great point. So this
I'm talking myself into Lee decision. I feel like if I as much as I like Charles Oliveira, he has shitty attempts on shitty takedown attempts, and Kevin Lee should be smart enough and have a good enough game plan to stay away. I'm not worried about the power knocking him out or anything like that. I even think Kevin Lee has the better kicks here. But as long as he can keep clear of him and get out of 2 of Charles Oliveira's holds, Charles Oliveira is going to quit. I want to say there's no way this goes 5 rounds. But I do think because the normal leeway I would see finishing is submission, I don't think he tries to get in like that with Charles Oliveira. So I'm going to go Lee decision now.
I had Kevin Lee earlier in the week before I went in and did all the study and everything and talking through it. I'm switching. I had Lee TKO round number 4. I'm going Oliveira TKO round number 2.
Oh, and now that you said TKO, I was just thinking, I don't really like Lee's power, but yeah, because Gillespie's such a little dude that I do like some body shots. I could see a body shot finish, a kick from Kevin Lee. He has some good karate kicks.
He has great kicks.
He's going to be tentative on those kicks because of Charles Oliveira has shit takedowns. The better takedowns are Kevin Lee's here.
Correct. Correct. But that spider monkey on the ground, Oliveira is
I think they're both going to respect each other a little too much.
The length in arms actually goes to Kevin Lee, where Oliveira usually is the longer, taller guy, but he came up from 45, so that's where. But
I thought Gillespie was piecing apart Kevin Lee before that knockout.
That's where I'm also thinking that knockout came, but it wasn't a one side. It wasn't Kevin Lee was working that fight. It was kind of flash with a great kick and a read. But I feel like Oliveira can beat him to the punch there. I feel like Oliveira's long.
Charles Oliveira's jiu-jitsu might be better than Tony's.
Yes, better, but he doesn't
have any wrestling the takedowns.
But great anacondas, great all that long arming stuff. Great triangles for Oliveira as well off of his back.
I hate this on my Fight Big Championship.
Me too.
But you know what? I've liked the way Charles Oliveira looked lately. I'm changing now to Oliveira decision. I like the way he's looked lately, where Kevin Lee, I just felt like that was so fluky his last fight, and he's such a head case. And everyone's like, oh, he's in the right frame of mind now. Is he? Because he looked like he was losing that fight until that moment. And yeah, he knocked him out, but now we're seeing same old Kevin Lee, big-headed Kevin Lee. Oh, man.
Kevin Gordon is not Kevin Lee level, but a lot like him, and he doesn't get finished, and he got him finished. That's the other thing, too. The level of opponents, though, are just so much different. Kevin Lee's gone against monsters, and Charles Oliveira's gone against no one who fights in the UFC anymore. It's such a weird
now
fight.
I'm switching back to Kevin Lee's decision.
I know. So, plus 115 underdog is Charles Oliveira.
No, I'm switching to Kevin Lee, KO. I think it takes, after you can't get him down 2 rounds, he's in front of Brazil. That gives him 1 extra round. I'm going to go with KO round 4. From total quit, he curls up in a ball on the ground.
I could see that too.
Punches.
And I had Kevin Lee KO round number 4 earlier in the week. I'm going round number 2. Oliveira, who is plus 125, 7,900 against Kevin Lee's 8,300. Minus 145 favorite. Lee the favorite here. Do you think you're going to be playing this 5-rounder much? Do you think there's going to be a lot of volume? I like the finish.
Right now I have late finish or late decision. So yeah, I could be playing. I even could see myself putting it as a stack. This is weird. It's I don't know. I'm not. But there's so many low scoring fights on the night. It's a bunch of weird submission nights. A bunch of all submissions.
Great point. Great point.
I don't know.
I don't know either. A lot of finishes throughout the night, as you're saying, though. We have a lot of finishes all the way around. I think maybe
this is just a fight card you watch and don't bet on. Yeah, this is a grappler fan. Don't invite your friends to this one. This is for the hardcores.
Well, we got a bunch of those around here.
Yeah, that's how. Make sure you guys are washing your hands. I like the best thing I read was that there's one I'm missing in it, but it was like there was a full moon this week. We end on Friday the 13th, but there was something that started the whole thing off that was really kooky, crazy.
Supermoons?
That was in the middle. That was the second day of the week. It was like the week started off with a time change. Then we had a super full moon. Then we end the week with a Friday the 13th. Make sure you wash your hands.
Let me...